Welcome back to the first episode of season 2 of the Mind of an Outcast podcast. I'm back, your host, Isaiah. You know what's up with me, and I got my homegirl, Sara Guzman, in the building. What's going on?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. Good morning.
Good morning.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing very well this morning. How are you?
I'm right there with you. It's a beautiful morning.
It is.
Blessed to be here. Finally, autumn is kicking in.
Yeah, we're starting it off with a good note.
Oh, yeah. No more heat. Well, minimal heat as opposed to a past summers, but yeah, I'm definitely.
Nice. It's nice to feel that breeze come through.
That
not
crisp,
gonna lie.
fresh air, definitely.
Yeah, the mornings feel glorious.
Yeah, for sure. Get
But
that.
Yeah.
How are you? What's new? What's old? What's new? What's now?
A lot is new. There's a lot of everything. There's a lot of the old, a lot of the new. But yeah, so let me introduce myself, I guess, because I don't know if people know who I am.
Yeah, by all means, go
Like
for
you
it.
said, my name is Sara. 30 years old. I'm recently sober it's going to be a year already.
Shit.
So,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much like my latest accomplishment, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have a history of mental illness, history of addiction, and all of that. So pretty much my life lately has been shifting away from all of that and into more healthy habits and just enjoying life,
Oh, hell yeah, most definitely.
Because I feel like when you're going through some shit, it's like you get stuck in like this cycle of like suffering and like struggling and like just fighting shit,
Definitely.
Just fighting demons and just fighting yourself, and it's getting to the other side of it. It's like, fuck, I was really not living for a long time.
No, I hear you.
So that's lately I've just been living.
First and foremost, congratulations on the sobriety, because that is a hard fucking thing to do. Especially, in our city with the type of culture that we have, where it's a fucking fiesta every other day. And there's always, some family shit going on.
There's always
a reason
yeah.
to drink. Always, so.
If not, you come up with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's always that 5 o'clock somewhere shit that goes without fail. It's like, oh, okay, man.
Have you ever tried it?
Sobriety?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. My probation had a big part in that, but it was for the better, because it benefited me so significantly, mentally, physically, spiritually, and I don't indulge in it like I used to. Like, I'm not completely sober anymore, but I'm not like a party animal like I used to be either. It's rare for me to drink. It's super, super rare. And even so, like, when I do drink, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna be responsible, but I'm not gonna...
It's a different approach.
It's a very different approach as opposed to back then.
So how long ago was your court stuff?
Ooh, very, very thankfully last court for, like, legal issues was alleged criminal
For
shit.
your criminal stuff.
Alleged criminal was 2017.
Oh, that's crazy. I got a I'm not proud, I'm ashamed actually, but like you said, it's something that came, it was like a negative thing that brought on positive things. I got a DWI in 2018.
Oh shit.
January 1st, I believe.
Oh, New Year's.
Yeah, and then I got probation and I was in career service and all of that for 12 months.
Damn.
And I think that's also when I kind of started, like, kind of getting away from it, like just changing my relationship with it. Like, I would still drink, but like I started Ubering, and like I tried moderating my consumption, like drinking less.
No, for sure.
And then I kind of started just smoking a lot more back in the day, that year.
Don't drink and drive, smoke and fly. Hell yeah.
But eventually I just ended up back into the binge drinking, It was like I was fine, and then once I finished the probation, it was like, okay, nothing happened. I forgot all about it. It's like, oh, back to normal.
Yeah. Like slap on the wrist type shit.
Yeah. And I went to the panels, and I saw the mothers of, like, victims. And I heard their stories, and it was touching and everything. But even though I wanted to change, my habits were just still there. Like, I was still the same person, even though I had been through all of that. So when COVID hit...
Oh, fucking COVID.
And we started working from home...
Yeah.
That shit it was like, poof. It just pushed me back worse than I was when I got the DWI. I just started mixing shit with alcohol and just fuck it, yeah. And then that's when I think I realized this is not what I want. Because I think the first time when I got the DWI, it was like, okay, you have to change. Like, I felt like I was forcing myself. Like, look at the consequences of your actions. You have to change. But a part of me still wanted to drink. Like, I still craved it. And this recent time, I feel like it was just so much easier because the cravings went away. Like, I didn't struggle with my mindset was just different. It was just like a completely different experience than the first other times. It's crazy.
I mean, to be fair, of course, nothing like that could be justified, but shit, 2020 was like, I feel, the greatest justification for everyone.
Everyone
because we had never gone through any shit like that before in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And our parents, our grandparents, that was new for everybody, for the whole fucking world. We were all barricaded in our homes, and all we had was the company in our households, whether it was good or bad. And, of course, we had to cope with it one way or another.
I think it was eye-opening for a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
Like, it forced us to slow down and look at shit. It's like, this is how y'all have been living. Like, these are the systems that have been holding you in place. Look at it. Yeah?
No, for sure.
That's how I feel. And, like, I think it's, a lot of bad and sad things came from it, A lot of loss. But I think it was necessary, Like, I think we all collectively, as a society... Like, we really desperately needed to see the state of our engagements, But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if... I think that COVID and working from home was, like, the least influential part of that relapse. I mean, it was just, like, the cherry on top.
But it's understandable, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
for
one, I'll never... I don't judge anyone first and foremost, but second of all, it's like I'm very understanding, regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstances. Like, you have to see it for what it is, and not try to bash anyone because of, you know what I'm saying? Like, because me too, like during COVID, I went crazy with the bottle.
Really?
Yeah, especially because like I had just gotten let go from my job. So I was getting unemployment. And during that time, unemployment was paying fucking...
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So I'm over here thinking...
You're like, I got money to...
Yeah, I swear. Bro. And I was like, well, I can't go anywhere. So fuck it, I'll make the party here. You know what I'm saying? But I just remember because I hadn't taken a vacation. I had worked like 5 years, and then I got let go.
Yeah, I remember you were always working.
Yeah, and I had never taken vacation. So I'm like, well, me personally, I took it like this is God's way of telling me, this is a bad situation, but, here's your vacation that you need, that you deserve. It's not the ideal vacation you wanted, but...
It's a break.
Yeah, and I had to juggle with those circumstances. Like, well, I really don't have any alternative other than to, be in the house all day. And I'm going to be drinking. I'd rather, of course, do it at home than be out in the streets or whatever. But how much confinement can you mentally handle before
you break?
Yeah. And then there's alcohol in the mix. And it's just like, fuck. Like
before you unleash. I feel like that's what it was. It's like you're trying to contain yourself, and like behave a certain way and do what you're supposed to. And then it's just like, fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
You just unleash. Oh my god.
No, you're good. You're good. You just snap. You just
yeah.
fucking. And then, like I said, the money, it was like a blessing and a curse. Thankfully, I put some of the shit away. But after I had saved what I saved, I'm like, well, I still have all this. Like, I guess I'm just drinking and I'm eating out.
So how long did that go on for?
All the way till it happened March the 13th. No, March the 13th I got fired. But then a week later is when the shutdowns like happened immediately.
Yeah.
So from March 20th all the way to I want to say September of just wilding out every day, day in, day out.
That's crazy that you say that, because I think that's pretty much what happened to me. Like, it was like the beginning of 2020 when I just started just letting myself go off rails, and just letting myself act like a degenerate. And then I got COVID in October of 2020.
Oh, man.
So once I got COVID, that shit woke me up. I was like, the fuck am I doing?
How did that hit you?
It was tough because, well, for one, I wasn't used to... I got out of the habit of being alone, you know?
Gotcha.
Because it's like, before COVID, I went through a season for maybe like a couple of years, from like 2017 to 2019. I was doing very well. I was exercising, going to therapy. I had a good job, you know, I was moving up in that job, and everything was good.
Mm-hmm.
And something within me just felt like, this is too good to be true. Or like, maybe I think, honestly, now that I look back, I think I felt unworthy of it. Like, this is all working out too well.
Mm-hmm. And you're not used to things going like that in your life.
Yeah, and I was going through that inner crisis of my beliefs. Because, like, I grew up Catholic. And then when I was a teenager, I was introduced to the Christian church.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a fallout with the church when I came out as bisexual. And that's when I started exploring other religions, kind of like Buddhism. And I started reading, like, the fucking Islamic...
The Quran?
You know, I just started, like, let me see for myself, you know? I just started, like, branching out to see what I would experience. Because for me, it's like, yeah, you're telling me this, but this is, like, what you believe. And I had this belief that I could still have a relationship with God regardless of my sexual preferences.
Yeah.
And, of course, everybody else was looking at me like, you're crazy. And so I had that inner conflict. And in 2019, I remember I had a coach at the time. She recommended this book to me. It's called Conversations with God. And that book just changed my life. Like, it just opened my mind to be like, forget the religious doctrine and forget all that dogma, you know, just seek experiences for yourself, and then you decide what you believe. Like, don't just blindly accept what the religion is telling you.
Formulate your own testimonies.
Right. So then I think that's what was behind all of that 2020 stuff, because after reading that book, I think a part of me wanted to experience what I had read. Like, hey, let me see if this is true. Let me see if there really is no condemnation. Let me see if God is really real without the religious practices, you know?
Yeah.
With that, like, if I live however the fuck I feel like living, is he still real? Am I still gonna have that experience where I can come and pray and, you know, whatever? So I think that's what was behind all of that. That relapse from 2020, but where were we going with this?
That definitely shows the growth in your mentality, because a lot of people stay so attached to that one belief that they were raised with for life, you know, and like there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're able to comprehend and understand other people's religions and other people's views on their aspect of, you know, like a higher power or their God or gods plural, you know, you just start to, like, for me at least, when that happened for me, I was more so in tune with the message and not the messengers.
Yes,
You know
that's
what I'm
something
saying?
that oh my God, when it hit me, when I realized, like, I was like, this is like my fourth religion that I dabble in, right? Because obviously, like, I didn't convert, like, I didn't become a Buddhist or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But when I was dabbling and learning, and I was like, there's so many similarities in the message. And that's when I started realizing it's maybe less about the messenger, more about the message itself. You know?
Yeah.
and that was part of me evolving, I guess, out of religion into spirituality, and it helped me a lot. But when COVID hit me, when I got sick, I really thought I was gonna die. Like, I was quarantined and I couldn't breathe like for days, and my chest was tight. I was sweating cold at night. Once I felt like I couldn't breathe, that's when I was like, "Fuck, is this over? Like, am I really gonna die like this?"
This is how I go out.
Like, yeah. I was like, "Fuck, this is how I'm gonna die." Like, hungover and shit, you know.
Oh like, shit! And then hungover.
Because I had been drinking like 3-4 times a week, every week for the past 9 months.
Dude, fucking COVID and hungover?
Yeah, like my alcohol problem was bad. So that happened in October, and luckily, like, I survived, right? Like, I got through it. I did go through something tough, though, too, because I think I was the first one in my family to get sick. After that, my mom, my sister, and my brother, all three of them got COVID. And then my brother passed away. So part of me was like, you know, that guilt that's like, oh man, it was my fault. Like,
I'm so sorry, I had no idea.
All of
my
that.
condolences.
Thank you. So I was going through all of that, and I was trying to just kind of like piece it together, you know, like change the way that I was thinking about it. Because like I had this new knowledge and like all of these experiences, but it was just not fitting, you know. It's like, this is what I've known my whole life, and then this is like what I just learned. Like, how do I go forward? So it was tough in that aspect. But after all of that happened, he passed away in November, and then I went for my regular checkups at the doctor, and the doctor was like, your liver enzymes are elevated. So it's like, because I didn't change my ways after I survived COVID, after my brother passed away, I was still drinking. Like, I still hadn't gotten it through my head, you know? And it was just, I feel like I was getting shaken, you know, like, wake up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I'm not ready to wake up. I go back to the same old shit. And then I go to the doctor, and it's like, okay, I already survived COVID. I already grieved my brother's death, you know, and then go to the doctor, and he's like, your liver enzymes are elevated. So he's like, you're drinking way too much. Like, my feet would get swollen after, like, a binge. My hands would go numb. They'd start tingling.
Shit.
And he was like, if you don't stop, like, the only thing after this is, like, liver disease. So I looked in the mirror, and at that time I was 27. I was 27. And I'm like, nah, this can't be happening. Like, I'm young. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be, you know? It's supposed to be fun, and I'm in my 20s, and
yeah,
what the fuck is going on? Like, it just hit me like a wake-up call, I guess. Like, so I realized, like, if I keep going the way I'm going, I'm gonna end up dead. And I started talking to my family about it, and honestly, and my dad told me at the time, I didn't even know. He told me that his dad died of cirrhosis, and this is something that I didn't even know till then.
Shit.
So after that, I was just like, all right, I gotta do something about it, you know.
Especially if it's hereditary. It's,
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in your family too?
I want to say, feel like acute alcoholism runs in my family, and I say acute because I've heard just stories of, you know, like my grandpa, because my dad and my uncles, they drink, you know what I mean, but it's not like a daily thing. It's more like a weekend thing, but which is still, you know, it's like that's the justified excuse. It's the weekend. Yeah. I deserve these, you know, by all means.
Do they drink a lot though?
Yeah. Yeah,
so like, even though it's a weekend only thing, it's still a lot of drinking.
Yeah, it's like I went 5 days without drinking. I got some making up to do type shit.
Yeah,
and you know
I did that for a while too.
It happens, you know what I mean. But like with me, I feel I'm definitely I'm that weak link in the chain that's gonna break it. You know, that cycle is like pretty much diminished with me. And I never, even when I would drink, I wouldn't drink in front of my kids. That's one thing I don't like. And it's not because
you're
like,
not modeling that for them.
Yeah.
Do you think that had a lot to do for you? Because I know for me it did. Like, I saw my parents was an alcoholic when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he barely stopped drinking. I think like 13 years ago, and all of my friends' parents would drink. You know, growing up. everybody that I was around was drinking, so it was very normalized for me. Like I started drinking when I was 12, and I didn't think anything of it. It was just like that's what you do.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started facing the consequences of that I started reflecting, like, and I started meeting other people from like different families, you know, or like different stories, and I'm like, their families are playing sports.
Yeah.
Like they're
No, for
normalizing
sure.
a whole different lifestyle, and then that's when I realized the contrast, and I'm like, all right, okay, like I didn't choose what I was brought up into, but I'm an adult now, and I can choose what I go forward with. You know?
Mom, most definitely.
But
For sure.
I think it does have a lot to do with what you were, with what you grow up as normal. You know, so I'm glad that you don't do it in front of your kids, because that, like you said, you're the one that's breaking that. You know.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be normal for them anymore.
No, for sure. And
props to you for that.
thank you. Appreciate that.
A lot of parents don't give a fuck.
I think the only time my kids really get wind that I'm drinking or that I'm drunk is like I just fucking smother them with love and affection. Like I just pull them to me, you know. I just tell them how much I love them, and
They're like, you're not usually this loving.
yeah, you know, it's like, why the fuck is anytime, you know, Dad's over here like chill, smiling, laughing and shit. Like he's, you know, he loves us way more than usual, and I don't know. It's just. If it wasn't for those kids, I don't know where the fuck I'd be, to be honest. Really? Yeah, like, shit. That's honestly a
How
big...
old are they now?
My oldest is 11. He just turned 11.
He looks taller?
That motherfucker's gonna be big. He's already up to me. He's like maybe 5'2".
Yeah, that's my size.
I'm like 5'8", 5'9". He's like 5'2", 5'3". Yeah, and he still has to hit his growth spurt, so...
Yeah,
he's gonna be big. And my little one, he's 8. He's just the wild me in every fucking aspect of my character. Like he's just outspoken. He's blunt. He tells it like it is. He's there's no containing him. He's just a very free spirited person, and like, I love that because my kids have my two characteristics, the two sides of me. You know, the humble, loving, caring, you know, gentle giant, if you will, who is dormant until provoked. And then that wild me that, you know, from school, high school, whatever the fuck, that just, it's like, let's do this. Like, what's the move today? What's it, you know?
How old are you now? I don't think I ever asked you.
I'm about to be 32.
Really?
In January.
So you had him...
My first born I had at 20.
Pretty young, but not that young, right? I think in my 20s is when I started, like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I've always been kind of hungry for more than what the norm is.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really accept it until recently. So my 20s was all, like, most of my 20s was, like, drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is common for most people.
Yeah, it's all experimental.
But I've heard with like other people, other of my friends that have kids, it's like they're so grateful also for being parents, because it's like that responsibility, you know, kind of like guides you away from the nonsense.
Of course. And it's very subjective too, because there's a handful of parents that...
Not even that does it.
Yeah. And it sucks because, these, you know, the kids didn't ask to be here, and they're going to have to endure their own hardships and, you know, traumas in childhood that they're going to carry into adulthood, because some parents just, they don't know how to onda, and it sucks. And I'm not trying to put any parent down, because I didn't get my shit together until I was 20, like 24. Yeah, like 24, 23, 24. Because, I mean, I loved having my firstborn, but I was so engulfed in that lifestyle.
It goes back to kind of what I said, right? Like, even though you have that desire to be better and do better, like, the way that you've been living kind of holds you back, because it's, like, so ingrained in, you know? It's, like, a habitual...
A ball and chain.
Yeah, it's like, man, make it stop. I want to go that way. Make it stop.
No, for sure. And I'll be the first to admit I was guilty of not being the best father I could have been at that point in my life. You know, especially since, excuse me, like it was constantly on and off with their mom. Of course, I would see them every other weekend, so I had, like they say, idle time is the devil's playground. I had nothing but idle time on my hands. You know, especially doing what I did in the streets to make money, and then part-time jobs. It's like, yeah, you get enough money to sustain whatever lifestyle you're living at the time. And mine was just going out every weekend, chilling every day. Of course, I would still get my son what he needed, you know.
You were just indulging in that feel good
Yeah, like
habits.
and that was I was indulging in such a selfish persona, like super super selfish, because I wasn't thinking about the future at all. I wasn't thinking, shit, I need to get my son, you know, his own room, his
Or
own.
was it conscious or was it unconscious? Like, were you consciously avoiding facing that responsibility, or were you just living in the later realized?
I think I just wanted to numb it, you know, because I was that responsibility fucking
Like, it was too
terrified
much.
and petrified me. And even so, like before up to the days he was born, like in the last trimester, I was shitting bricks, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
I can't imagine, y'all. Clearly, I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like. But, like, even just hearing about the level of responsibility, I'm like you said earlier, you know, like, you understand or you, like, empathize with others, you know? I feel that way about parents because it's, like, it's a huge responsibility. Like, I don't even know what I would do if I was faced with that responsibility at such a young age, where it's, like, you don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, care for this living being. That's understandable, you know, that you would kind of be like, all right, let me just go and fucking forget about that for a while.
No, for sure. But
Just to keep your sanity, you know?
and thankfully, like, you know, I'm not living in a big old mansion, you know, in the mountains on the west side. I don't drive a fucking Maybach or,
But they're stable.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one thing I can provide is stability.
Yeah. And
You
I think
know?
that's what kids need when they're growing up, yeah?
And aside from stability, I try to educate myself as much as I can to help myself grow and develop, and so I can help them grow and develop to the best of their capabilities. Because
That's a big thing, too.
yeah, that's one thing I learned is like, okay, I might not be able to give them a gold toilet to shit in, you know, but I have a brain that they can pick and dissect
Yeah.
and be like, well, shit, you know what? Dad's got some wisdom. Dad's got some knowledge that he can
Yeah.
bestow on us. And it's like, you know what? You can't take that gold toilet with you when you die anyways,
Exactly.
you know? But when I die, I'm going to instill some values in you and some morals in you that you can maybe pass on to your kids if you choose to have kids, if you choose to do so with your own kids, because we can't tell anyone how to raise their kids.
Yeah, I always tell my mom that because she feels like that way, you know, like, oh, I wish I could have given y'all more. And, like, to me, her story is crazy. Like, I started writing a book a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And I interviewed her because I was like, I want something about her to be in this text. Because, like, my mom is the most interesting person that I know. And she's, like, literally my best friend. And she's given me so much more than she can imagine. Like, she was born in Zacatecas, Mexico. And she started working, like, when she was 5 years old.
Shit.
Because her mom, my grandma, she had a lot of kids. You know, back in the day, it was, like, normal to have...
That was the norm, yeah.
Yeah, normal to have all these kids and marry young. And so they were facing, like, extreme poverty, you know? Like, their kids had to work in order for them not to die. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
And so when she was a teenager, I think she moved to Juarez and then met my dad when she was, I think, like 19. And then she got married at 20. And then they came over to the States and she learned English. She became a citizen. Like, everything about her was just like, don't lose faith in God, you know, and always keep moving forward and learn from what you go through. And, like, your character is more valuable than where you're at or what you're doing. You know, so it's more about who are you being instead of what you're doing and what you're accomplishing.
Yeah.
And that's what she taught me and that's what she instilled in me. And to me, that's more valuable than if she would have been like, here is a lot of money, you know? Or, like, here's a big mansion, but I'm not going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to teach you shit. Or I'm going to be a fucking shitty person that abuses others or lies to others. There's a lot of stories now on the internet where people talk about their narcissistic parents.
I was about to say, it sounds like narcissism.
That to me, it's like I see that and I feel for these people, because it's like your parents are supposed to be that safe space. They're supposed to, like, at least, like you said, if you're not gonna provide financially, then emotionally or mentally, some guidance.
No, absolutely. And it sucks because we think we're going through some shit until you read one of their stories, and it's like, fuck, man, I need to stop complaining about how bad I think I have it, because there's always someone that has it 10 times worse, and that person probably knows someone else's story that has it 10 times worse than they do, and so on and so on. And like you said, how your mom started working at 5 goes back to what we said about she grew up way faster. Than I'm sure a lot of other kids here in America.
And it trickles. It trickles because, like, I remember when I was 11. I was 11 and she was like, you're already old enough to know what's good and bad for you. Mm-hmm. Like, you're already old enough to live with the consequences of your decisions. I was a child.
Yeah.
But in her mind, it's like she was old enough at 6 to take care of her brothers. So she's looking at me at 11 like, girl, you're old enough, like, grow up.
No, for sure.
So it's crazy how it translates, like, generation to generation. And even going back to her to her mother and her grandma, and it's just everything just, like, you can't get away from it. And I think it's crazy to me that we don't talk about it enough. Like, we just...
Especially in our culture.
Yeah.
We just
accept it, I think, where it's like, well, that's how it's always been.
We're very accustomed to tradition.
Yes.
And it sucks because...
It's bittersweet, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing that's another cycle I try to break with my kids, because I hear myself sometimes and I'm like, fuck, is my dad in here?
Already? You're already going through that?
Oh, yeah. No, I've been through it.
Your dad comes out.
And I'm just like, I gotta chill with that, because for one, they're fucking kids.
Yeah. Where is your dad from?
Oh, he's originally from LA, and then
really?
they came out here. Yeah. But yeah, like my grandparents, también from
Chicano.
Chicano, as they come. They're from Mexico also. Then they came over here.
So your dad grew up in LA?
No, he was born there, but he came over here at a very young age.
Young.
If not an infant, a toddler for sure.
Oh wow.
But yeah, like, there's so many things he's ingrained in me that where I'm just like, I catch myself slipping and, say it to my kids or something. I'm like, nope. Let me rewind a little bit. If I have to apologize to them, I'm going to apologize to them. Because, those anger outbursts or those emotions of hostility is like, that's not me speaking personally.
Yeah,
that's
like the automatic reactions are not always who you really are. Right?
Yeah, and I'll have to backtrack and tell them, you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to tell you like that, but let me explain to you why what you did is wrong, and let me explain to you why I reacted the way I did. Because when I was your age and I did that, this is what happened to me. And it's because, you just have to break down all the layers.
Yeah.
And my oldest, he's very intelligent. Like, he grasps the concept instantaneously.
Everything you tell
he's
him.
like, Dad, I understand. I get it. I mean, he still fucks up. Don't get me wrong. He's a kid.
Yeah.
He's a preteen right now. He's on his way to those teenage years in middle school and high school where it's like, oh fuck, I was a handful. I can't wait to see what the fuck they bring me. But
parenting boot camp is coming up for you.
Oh yeah. It's 24/7, 365. But
you think that's when that self-awareness developed for you, where it's like the older your kids got, the more self-aware you grew? Because it takes self-awareness to be able to realize, like, hey, that the way that I acted is not really who I am,
It's funny because I was already like that before he was even born.
Oh, yeah?
Like, when my firstborn, that's the first thing that popped in my head. I was like, okay, when he's, for example, in high school, like he's a freshman in high school, how am I going to deal with the situation? He likes this girl, and they get caught doing some shit.
You were already thinking.
Yeah, I'm way fucking 10 steps into the future at that point. And he's not even born yet. I'm like,
that's why you were overwhelmed.
oh yeah, I overthinking like a motherfucker. But still, these are things that, you know, I just I would anticipate and be ready, prep myself for, you know, years ahead of his time. But like, I remember one time we were at Peter Piper when he was like 2 or 3 years old. He was like 2 years old. No, fuck me, he was like a year and a half. And I was just that person. Like, some older kid came by. He was playing skee ball. He was trying to play skee ball, you know, throwing shit all over the place. And this kid comes over, takes his ball and pushes him. And, you know, I've always been, I don't play that shit. When it comes to my babies, So I'm over here picking my son up, and the little bastard is right here in the next lane throwing the ball. So I pick my son up, and then I'm like, are you okay? And then I swing him, and I knock this little motherfucker on his ass. I'm like...
Parenting 101.
Yeah, so in my mind, I'm looking at this kid. I'm like, go tell your fucking mom. Go tell your dad. Go tell your grandma. I'll run the fade with anyone right now. Like, fuck you, kid. Heated. Like, yeah, I was fucking heated.
That's my kid.
You know, but in perspective now, I'm like, man, kids are fucking kids, bro. Yeah. Like, and it all goes back to, you know, this kid might not have the best parenting system at home either. Like,
yeah,
but still,
obviously you weren't thinking about that in the moment.
I'm in Papa Bear mode, like, nonstop. So, but like I said, now I'm a lot more understanding, and I like to dissect situations more so that way I can identify the root of the problem and try to come up with a solution before shit escalates or gets out of hand.
Do you think that comes from your personality or like?
Oh yeah, I was raised around violence. Like, I saw that so much. Like, violence has always just been a part of me. And
no, I mean like the introspection side, you know, because I think a lot of people are natural. Like, I consider myself naturally introspective. Like, I think about things, I reflect, you know. But there's a lot of people that don't. Like, they literally have to go to therapy or like talk to somebody that will bring that out or like kind of like guide them through reflecting and thinking about things, you know.
Mm-hmm. It varies with me. With me, I'll have my days where I'm very introspective, and I have other days where it's the shoot first, ask questions last type shit. And that was a key factor in me getting in so much trouble, because I don't reflect on my actions until the consequences set, and it's like
too late.
Yeah, because I've always been one. If I fight someone, I was raised, you know, give a hand, shake a hand. We did our thing. Ahí se murió. Like, we're good now. And now, I'm just like, how, as prideful as I am, how can I avoid that situation altogether?
Right.
How can I contain my anger?
Before you do it, right? Like, get to that awareness before instead of after.
Yeah. And then, I sound like a grumpy old fuck now, especially just because I can't adapt and conform with, like, the new generation. Like, I'm all for letting bygones be bygones. Like, our generation was fucked up too, you know. Yeah. Like, we had the sagging jeans and the big fucking t-shirts and you know, we were just wilding too. But I don't know, something. That's why I'm telling you, I sound old as fuck to myself. Because I'm like, damn, these fucking kids nowadays, like, there's no respect and this and you know, even though I see other people say the same shit, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Yeah. Because I'm like, we were like that too. And the generation before us was saying the same shit about us. And, like, when these fuckers grow up, if they grow up because they're so wilding out,
they're going to be saying
the same shit about the next generation, and so on and so forth. But it's hard for me to just watch that generation and be like...
yeah, I not want to say something about
not want to just... I wish you guys the best, but just don't fuck with me and stay out of my way. But my kids are a part of that generation, you know. So I have to keep up with the times. I have to learn about what's going on. I have to stay on top of the new fucking slang and the trends and the fucking internet sensations and social media sensations. Because, man, these kids are really out here dying over some challenges and some hashtags and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I think it's. I would have hated to grow up in this generation, man. Like, I think it's just getting tougher and tougher and tougher. Like, imagine if back in the day when we were teenagers and doing dumb shit, imagine being recorded.
Yeah.
And like you just being blasted everywhere.
Yeah. Your privacy is.
That shit would have been. Mm-hmm. I don't think I would have had a job at all. Like your history just follows you. You know, you do something dumb and it follows you. I don't like. I just even that social media is just another topic where it's like we don't even know how it's gonna affect this current generation. You know, like we don't even know how it's gonna affect us.
That's so
We're
fucking
just
scary to think
figuring
about.
it out. Yeah, like I think if I had kids, I would just need like 10 therapists or something. Like I would need a group of people managing my well-being because that shit would be a lot to handle. You know, just I would worry about that. You know, like how is this gonna affect my kid? You know, like just all of this pressure to be socially acceptable. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what the fuck is that? You know, like, what the fuck is socially acceptable? Socially acceptable to who?
It was already hard back then because you had the whole...
The culture and the traditions. I keep doing that.
No, you're good. It's back then, you know, the whole cliques. You got the jocks, the popular kids. You got the rockers. You got the cholos. You got the...
But at least it stayed at school, you know? It's like, you could walk away and do your own thing.
This shit...
Without it following you.
It's inevitable now. Like, you have no privacy.
Yeah. And I think it's really gonna affect negatively.
Yeah, no, definitely. And on top of like all of the, how can I put it? I don't want to say agendas, like more like propaganda. Yeah. Because mental health is a big fucking issue nowadays. Yeah. And it sucks because there could be kids that don't know shit about what it really is. And, you know, they're giving some symptoms and automatically they jump to conclude, I'm suicidal. I'm depressed. Yeah. I have anxiety. I have this. And it's like...
I do think that the labels can have a counterproductive effect, honestly. Because, like, I don't know. It's like a two-way street. Because when I grew up, I started having symptoms at, like, 11. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't diagnosed with anything until I was 21. So it was, like, 10 years... thinking something was wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And I think if I would have had a diagnosis sooner, I could have maybe wrapped my head around how to manage the symptoms and maybe not let it define me for so long, you know?
Gotcha.
But of course, it's like a could have, should have, would have doesn't exist. But on the other hand, like you say, now I think it's more common to talk about it, like it's more well known. So I think it's just like doctors are just throwing that label on people, you know, like, oh, a few symptoms, okay, you're this, and then they label them. You're anxious, you're depressed, you're this, you're that, and that, like they just walk around with this label, and then they identify that. This is where I think the problem is, where these young kids, young people, or even older for that matter, you know, they get the diagnosis and they just identify with it, and then they limit their experience of life to that diagnosis. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I can't do that. Or like there's so many people that don't do a lot of things because, oh, I'm anxious.
With that being said, do you feel like with our generation, ignorance, of course, like ignorance is bliss? Because like I'm sure I had plenty of fucking diagnoses that I was never diagnosed with. But, you know, we muscled through the shit, and we made something out of ourselves. But as we're older, we understand, oh man, when I was young, there's a high probability that I had ADHD. There's a high probability I was probably depressed or had social anxiety. And you know, like our fucking culture with our Mexican parents is like, just fucking deal with it. Yeah. You know, don't stop bitching and just get shit done. Like, do you feel now, like you said, there's excuses?
It's a good question. Go ahead.
No, yeah, that's basically what I was going to break it down to.
Like, there's excuses, made around. I think it makes it easy to make excuses. Mm-hmm. But to the question, like, it's a good question. I don't think that ignorance is bliss for our generation. Okay. No. I think that it's, because, like, sooner or later, like me, with or without the diagnosis, I had to face the symptoms. I had to learn to manage them, you know. So I guess it just depends on the person, you know, because you have people that do get the diagnosis early, and they still don't manage their symptoms. They still don't learn how to cope healthily, you know. So like people, I think it goes down to the person. Like, are you gonna do something that's empowering? Are you gonna do something that's beneficial for you, or are you just gonna use the diagnosis as a crutch, and use it as a crutch, and then just not do anything with your life?
And that's the crazy shit because it goes back to our parents who had it even worse than us because there was no talk about mental health whatsoever. They just, you think that coincided with their adaptability and their
Resilience.
not only the resilience but also the I just had it at the tip of my tongue. Fuck, I hate when that
Sorry, I
happens.
interrupted you.
No, you're good. You're good. I meant like the coping for all the shit that they had. Like, you think that it coincided with the drinking and
yeah, definitely.
the way they raised us to be.
So much. I think that's why I'm so passionate about the topic now.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I hear stories of my mom's parents, my dad's parents, and their lives, and their brothers and their sisters, you know, and I hear stories, and I'm just like, that ignorance about the way that our brain, even lately, you know, like the brain, the mind body connection, that ignorance about how your body works, your brain, your emotions, you know, the ignorance about how your being works, it led to just so many unconscious coping mechanisms because that's all they knew.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that just perpetuated more of the same. Where I think if they would have grown up with more education about it, you know, maybe they could have had, okay, at least now you have options. If you have options to deal with something in an empowering way versus cope and numb it out, at least you had the option.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like a lot of our parents, well, at least mine, you know, being that they come from where they come from, they didn't even have paved roads. You know, it's like they didn't have schools. They barely, I think, went to like elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Like their education was very limited, and so to me, it's like that ignorance. It was definitely a huge factor in their suboptimal coping mechanisms. You know, which eventually led to addiction and disease and all of that.
You think about it. What did we do right after high school?
Drink the same thing.
And again, they had such a short academic system. Right after elementary, you're basically an adult. You know, you learned your basic educational standpoints, and then
they just throw like you're really not equipped.
You either go work or you find some way to make a living, but that's it as far as school goes.
That's what I am very like, it aggravates me because it's like we make as a society like all of these advances technologically, right? And it's like, okay, you're no longer working at the maquila, you know, like you're no longer picking corn out of the backyard, you know, like you have all this advanced technologically, but emotionally and like mentally, I think that's where we lacked. Like we just lagged behind, and it's like like we're barely now teaching our kids emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
You know? We're barely now normalizing therapy.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a good start. Like, giving the language to talk about it and to discuss it and manage it. But I think we're behind.
No, definitely. Like, I had my first therapy session ever, maybe like 2-3 months ago, and it was fucking funny to me because
that is so awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I get so happy when people go to therapy. I don't know why.
But here's the funny shit about it. Like, everything this lady was telling me,
you already knew.
I already discovered it for myself, and I already developed my own coping mechanisms, and you know, just identifying the root of the problem and dealing with it. She's telling me, okay, well, it sounds like you have this and this and that because of this traumatic experience or because of this. It's like, I know that already. I was like, can you tell me something I don't know? And of course, I didn't. That wasn't my mentality toward her because she's just telling me based off the first session with her. And it's like, of course, you don't know me. This is obviously what's going to come to you. But after a few more sessions, I'm like, I know all this about myself already. Yeah. You know, like.
That's how I was when I first went. I first went to therapy in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 25. And it took me a long time to even make the appointment. Because a part of me was like, man, fuck these doctors. Like, I'm not going to accept these diagnoses. Like, they don't know me, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just like, no. But then year after year after year, because I first got my initial diagnosis at 2021. So 4 years had gone by since I got the diagnosis. They told me I had clinical depression, and then another doctor, because I went to like 3 different doctors. Mm-hmm. Another one told me you have generalized anxiety and bipolar. So I was like, no. I just didn't want to accept it. And then I kept going through shit, and I was like, man, fuck, maybe they're right. So then I went to therapy.
I love that shit. We're so fucking stubborn. It's like, I'm not depressed. Get the fuck out of here. Go to the next doctor. You're depressed. That's what the first one said, but I think both of you are full of shit.
Yeah,
Third time around. Yeah, right? This is a fucking scam. Like, the way I was raised, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
You're not going to play me, bitch. I know.
You just want to build my insurance.
Yeah. But it's so, that's ultimately what it leads up to. It's just so stubborn that finally when it does hit, maybe I do have a fucking problem. Like,
yeah. And like I originally went to the therapist because I was hooked on some prescription pills for years, and I wanted to get off them. Like I literally felt like I wasn't alive anymore. Like I wasn't in my body. Like I didn't feel anything.
Like you were a zombie.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck. Like if I have any chance at getting out of this depression, I have to get sober first. Mm-hmm. So I went to the therapist so that she could help me get off of the prescriptions that I was abusing. Because like literally I would wake up, boom, before I even brushed my teeth, before I even went to the restroom. And I was just like, man, like this can't go on. Mm-hmm. Like I'm in my 20s, like I'm supposed to be enjoying life. But I just didn't have the emotional management tools to process all of that heavy shit that I grew up with. So I just turned to the drugs, you know. Yeah. But I was tired of the drugs. Like I was always tired. Like my body was changing. Like I was so obese. It was just not helping anymore. And I had to drink more to even feel anything.
Yeah.
And so I went to the therapist so she could help me get off of those. But like, she sent me to a psychiatrist too, and they started weaning me off. So I did like 6 months of CBT, and then after 6 months, like I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and it helped a lot. Like that was the first time I realized, like, fuck, I do have power over how I feel. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not a victim.
Yeah. That's great to hear you say that. Once you get that victim mentality out of your head.
Yeah, it was all up from there. Mm-hmm. After that clicked. But after the 6 months, like you said, like I was like, I'm not learning anything. Like this is what you told me 3 months ago. Like, you know, like it was just a lot of back and forth, and it was just doing the same exercises that we had been doing. So I was like, what am I paying you for? And I just dismissed myself. I was like, all right, I just stopped going. And then a year went by after that, and I plateaued again. Like I stopped growing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we have in common. Like
there's a point in time where it's just stagnant.
Yeah, but you gravitate towards it. Like I feel me, like I really crave growth. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to accept that because growing up, it's like, I feel that growing up, being ambitious was seen as unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you gotta, like, look at where you come from. Like, why are you dreaming big? Like, why do you want more? Be content with what you have.
Be content. Be grateful. Be comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't get me wrong, I am, but something in me is pushing me to drive.
Yes.
I can't ignore that. You ignore that, that's when the stagnant.
And I think that's where the depression comes in too, honestly.
Mm-hmm. You wrestle with the conflicts of tradition and breaking out of that norm.
Yeah.
And you just, it sucks because you don't know what path to choose. You know that you're not supposed to be where you're at. Like you're meant to be somewhere else, but you don't know how to proceed with getting there.
Yeah.
And
I think it goes, I think that's like the beginning of like trusting your intuition, right? Like trusting your inner guidance. Mm-hmm. Because when you're young, it's like, you know what you feel. Like you feel drawn to certain things. You feel like you're hungry for certain things, you know, like growth or like ambitious for the vision of your life. But you don't trust that yet. Because you, like, at least for me at that point, like I hadn't lived enough to where I can trust myself through life seasons. Mm-hmm. So I was just scared. I was just like, what if they're right? What if I shouldn't be dreaming big or wanting more for my life?
That doubt's a motherfucker too.
Yeah.
It can really kill ambition and just keep you where you're at.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. So like for a year after I went to CBT, like I thought I was, at least I had made progress, right? Because I was like, man, I'm off of these pills, I'm sober, I know how to manage my thoughts and my emotions better than I ever have in the past fucking 20 years. And I was doing well. Like my relationships started getting better, you know, with my family, with my friends. But then I was like, there's gotta be more. And then that's when I started the coaching program, which was integrative health, where it's different than therapy because integrative health looks at you like spirit, mind, body, instead of just psychology. And I liked that because it was like there's a lot more to me than my thoughts. Like there's things that I can't even articulate, but they're there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you gonna bring it up and look at it, or are you gonna just keep going and pretending like everything is fine? And that's when I started just looking at life differently, you know, like thinking, okay, like I'm gonna accept myself for who I am and do the best with what I have.
Oh, I commend you so much on your journey. Like nothing but love and respect, because I mean, though I don't know your whole story thoroughly, like I know you well enough to say, fuck man, Sara has definitely been through some shit, but she's on the winning side of all that adversity, you know. And I've told you before, I'm proud of you, like straight the fuck up. Like I really genuinely mean, I'm so happy that you are where you are, you know, spiritually, mentally. Just it takes a lot to, you know, understand all of your, you know, demons, all of your problems, all of your, just everything that can be detrimental to someone's mentality, to someone's mental health, and be able to overcome that. So
yeah,
I just want you to know that personally as a friend. Like, you know,
I think I'm barely getting to see it that way. Because for the longest time, like I said, like I felt like something was wrong with me. And like everybody else had an okay life, and then nobody else went through, you know, like the back to the victim thing. But like the more that I get to this side of it, the more I realize we're all going through some shit.
Yeah.
That everybody's going through some shit, you know? And it really is tough to come out on the other side. A lot of people get stuck struggling. They get stuck in addiction. They get stuck in alcoholism. They get stuck in the victim mentality or self-sabotage or self-destruction, you know, in their own way. Like everybody has their own way. And
what sucks is it doesn't even necessarily have to be something as bad as alcoholism or drugs. It could be, you know,
your self-talk. It could just be, some people can't even look at themselves in the mirror.
Just it's
relationships too. Some people are in toxic relationships.
A whole bunch of toxicity could be, whether it be, you know, like we said, it could be drugs, could be alcohol, other people's vices, could be food, promiscuous relationships, trying to find.
That's a big one. Yeah, you just go humping everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And
yeah, sexual addiction is a big one.
That's a big fucking drug too.
Yeah.
Super big drug. Because people will never sustain that.
Even that's more normalized too. I think that's tough too, because it's like, sex is a good thing, you know. You're supposed to enjoy it. Yeah. So people don't really analyze how much is too much. You know, where do you draw the line between I'm enjoying my physical reality and I'm addicted to? You know,
no, for sure. And monogamy is hardly ever mentioned anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's more so, go have your fun.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna be young forever. This shit is never gonna catch up to you. They don't tell you, well, all it takes is one fucking person and you're fucked for life. And, you know, all it takes is one person who... It could be a fucking range of things, especially with sex. There's diseases, there's those fatal attraction, crazy stalking fucks. There's there's a whole bunch of things.
There's a lot. It's crazy, though. It really is. Like, recently I've noticed that everybody is going through something, and I think that because before I was just so consumed with what I'm going through and how do I get myself out of this place and how do I get myself to be okay, that finally when I'm okay, fuck, I made it. I'm okay now. I'm like, I'm not surviving anymore. Like, I'm stable. And then like I breathe and I'm like, fuck. Like, for a while there, I didn't think that I was gonna make it out. You know, so I'm like, okay. And I look around and I'm like, fuck, there's a lot of people going through some shit. A lot of people going through worse shit, more difficult shit, and not everybody knows how to get out. You know, or they go from one thing to another. They jump from one thing to another. It's like you stop doing abusing one thing and then you go and abuse the other.
They crossfade toxicity.
Yes.
And
why do you think that is?
I mean, just like you said, they just use all the resources for one toxic trait, and once, you know, it's diminished, they're like, well, what's similar to this that'll still give me that, you know, that rush I had when I was doing this, that fix. And then it's like they would say in fucking school during drug week, gateway drugs. Whatever the drug may be, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, illegal substances. Like, they could go from alcoholism to, what would you say, promiscuity. They could go from promiscuity to, just jump around from vice to vice. That's detrimental to their well-being. And unless they find a way out of it, it's just going to be a continuous fucking cycle.
I think that's why I was attracted to the integrative health, you know, because like a lot of people shy away from the spirituality aspect, but I really think it plays a big role, you know, because it teaches you to go within, and I think that all of these vices is people trying to heal externally a deficit that's happening internally. You know, like when you don't have peace, and it's a very subjective topic, right? But like when you don't have peace, you're gonna go jumping around vice to vice.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have fulfillment, you're gonna go from person to person, relationship to relationship. You know.
Oh, definitely.
I think that's the piece that a lot of people neglect. That I think it would be helpful if they didn't. Because people, well, at least the people that I know and talk to, it's like they think it's either or, you know. It's like it's either spirituality or psychology, you know. It's either physical health or mental health, and it's like I don't think that's obviously it hasn't proven to be helpful. You know, if it were helpful, then a lot of us would be all right. But a lot of people are still struggling, and they get stuck struggling. And I think that if they would look at themselves as a spirit, mind, body type of thing, then be like, all right, I'm going to approach this problem at the spiritual level. I'm going to approach this problem at the physical level. I'm going to approach this one at the mental level. And then you just kind of move forward progressively, like little by little. And you start getting momentum. And you look back and you're like, fuck. That's actually sustainable. Instead of trying to... I think the biggest mistake that I made over the past 10 years was trying to bring about change externally, you know, just by force or willpower. Just because I thought, like, all right, this is what I want. I have clarity about what I want. And that's enough. Without stopping to think, there's more to me than this physical body, you know? Like, there's a lot more that drives my actions than just this reality that I'm living in. Like, there's a lot more inside of me that needs to be looked at and heard. What do you think?
I see what you're saying. I really do. And with me, personally, I believe that's what it all starts with. It all starts with that change of mentality. When you get that clarity and distinguish what you want, then the rest is up to you. Like that's me personally, though. Like, it all starts with a thought and an idea. Of course, there's other tools you can obtain along the way that'll help you reach your goal eventually. But I feel unless you have that initial thought, everything else will be pretty futile because...
Yeah, there's no drive.
Yeah. It takes that thought to derive everything else. But, you know...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I said, if you find the other tools sooner than later, shit, even better for you because there's no way to go but up. But if you can set that initial drive based off that thought, Like, that's the only kick jump you need, because all you have to do after, there's only things to gain.
Right.
You know what I mean? After you get that thought. So that's my standpoint.
Is that what happened for you?
Yeah. I had to just pretty much, where do I want to be? Am I comfortable with this? You remember, like, I had just gotten out of jail the time we linked up. You remember we went walking down the canal, just chopping it up, catching up.
You had just gotten out of jail?
I had just gotten out.
Yeah, I remember.
I was staying at my grandma's. And yeah, when I was tagging up, that was
like 5 years ago, no?
No, dude, that was
19?
7 years ago. That was 2016.
Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's been that long.
Summer 16, I had gotten out. I got out in July.
Oh, damn. I thought that was like...
No, I'm sorry. I got out in, late June or early July.
It had to have been July. Because I remember I had barely moved back from Dallas.
Yeah, and it was so funny because out of nowhere, we just fucking linked up and we started chopping it up, catching up. And that's when we found Nala in the canal, that little pit bull.
So is that when it started clicking for you? When you got out of jail that one time?
Yeah, and then, like, not only that, because I had linked up with you, and you would tell me about, like, all your ambitions and where you were mentally. And it's like, that's what I needed. I needed to link up with someone who was on a whole different mentality, because...
Like, focus on the future, right?
Yeah. Had I gone back to my old friends, I would have stayed in those pathways. And it would have prolonged my growth to get to where I'm at now, because, with people with that type of mentality, you're gonna stay in that mentality.
I think it's tough. Like, I know for me, definitely, like, that kept me back a lot, because for the longest time, like, even choosing to get sober, like, I just wanted somebody to go through it with me.
Got you.
Like, I was just like, man, let's both do this. Like, let's both change our lives, and let's both do things differently. And I just wasted years of my life waiting for somebody to want to go through it with me.
Yeah, that's it.
Until I was like, man, if I keep waiting, I'm going to be 40, still addicted, still sick,
There's not going to be much to save by that point in time. And
so I just got to that point where I was like, I wasted too many years waiting for somebody to be on the same page as I am. Like, I got sick and tired of it, and it just clicked, and I was like, I have to choose myself. Like, why am I waiting for somebody else to choose me and my path when this is my life and my path?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it clicked for me, which was actually when I moved back, when we linked up. That's what I was going through. I was just like, I'm going to go this way. I don't give a fuck where y'all go.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all the events, like, because it's not like linear, like, there's ups, there's downs, there's relapses, but that's initially when I decided, all right. And then after that, here we are. But, so...
And linking up with you set that idea in motion for me.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so awesome to hear.
Yeah, because, again, had I linked up with these motherfuckers...
You think it was kind of like you saw yourself, like it was like a mirror type of thing where it's like, hey, I was thinking the exact same thing?
Pretty much. I mean, we had different standpoints as far as, like, business-wise.
Yeah.
But in general perspective of growth...
Yeah.
Boom, we were spot on. And, right after that, in a matter of months, like, I'm telling you, that's why I say I'm a firm believer in the idea is the seed for that tree, because...
Yeah, that's where the desire comes from.
And then I obtained the tools along the way, because
that
meeting with us in the summer, within the next few months, I had my own apartment. You know what I'm saying? I had a stable career.
You developed this vision of, all right, this is where I want to be in the next 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
just
like,
pulling you.
I knocked out all my short-term goals with an iron fist. I got a good career.
Yeah.
Out of thin fucking air. Like, I just manifested all this shit into existence because...
I really believe in that.
Same.
Like, I think once you, like you said, you got that idea, and then that turns into this vision, and that fuels your desire. So you're already in this energetic vibration of the desire, So I feel like you align with what it is you're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just happens for you. It just happens.
No,
right?
yeah. Absolutely. You have to believe that shit with all your heart, though. I feel.
Yeah.
I was always like, my dream car was my Mercedes-Benz. And I ended up fucking getting it because that's that was just that. And this is just a brute example, but that was my dream car. And I was like, fuck, I would envision myself on a daily basis, like pulling up to my kid's school, picking them up in a Benz, being able to say, you know what, I did that shit. I got my dream car and I picked up my kids from school in my dream car. And I taking my kids home in our dream car to a stable, loving, caring home. You know, and it's like, okay, I got my dream car. What's the next step? I got to get a house.
I was about to ask you, how did you feel after that? Like, what's next?
Yeah, like that's the type of high I would start to strive for, rather than, okay, who's this next prospect I'm gonna, knock down and shit, at the clubs, at the bars, you know what I'm saying, on some promiscuous shit. Like I was, that shit was out of my mind.
You're focused.
I was focused on what really mattered.
On that vision, yeah.
So I went from, thankfully I still had my job then that I loved going to, and it was just a fucking step stool of, there's nothing that, like, the only way to go is up. I've been at rock fucking bottom. Like,
did you ever feel like, if I could do this, then I could do anything?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then what happened after that?
Stagnancy kicked in. The complacency.
Like, where it's like, man, I already made all this progress. Yeah, I can chill.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to the point of my comfortability, and that was a downfall for me, because all those old feelings started kicking back in.
Was that kind of like around when COVID hit? Because you already had your house by then, no?
I want to say...
Or how did that timeline happen?
Okay, so got my car in 2017. I got my house in 2020. I got custody of my kids last year. And I was like, that's everything I've ever wanted in life. Like, I'm cool, I'm good, thank God. But it's like, what happened to that fucking high that I would get, that drive, that ambition to just to, it's like, cool, I got my house, I got my kids. Like, why don't
I keep going?
Where's the drive for me to, get another piece of property, get some fucking, the passive income off of that, make money while I do nothing.
Well,
generate.
This barely happened. You said you got custody of your kids last year?
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been that long.
But they had been living with me since 2021.
So
but it was official custody.
You it feels like, all right, I should be working on the next goal.
Yeah. But again, that complacency kicked in, and I'm just like, fuck. I want to... You
still have that itch?
Yeah.
For doing something.
And thankfully, like, it's coming back little by little, because just over the past few days, I'm like, man, I want to go to McKelligan Canyon, go for some runs. I feel good after some cardio or a workout, and not only do I feel good mentally, but it's doing my physical body well too. And it's just like, I can't find the motivation like I used to. Like, I used to be a gym rat for real. Like, and I feel good when I was fit and
you were in that flow.
Yeah.
Where you just get up and go.
Mm-hmm. It was part of my daily routine.
It's part of life, though. Like, I think it's natural to kind of, like, fall back and try to get back on the groove of things,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I barely started. The first time I went to the gym is when I was going to CBT, actually, because the lady was like, these are, like, the basics for mental health. Like, you got to be exercising. What are you doing? And I was like, man. And so she's like, try to find something that you enjoy doing instead of something that feels like a chore. So then that's when I first went to a kickboxing gym, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it was fun for me, so I just kept going. And then I fell off when I started drinking, of my relapse in 2020. And then I realized I gotta get back to that. Like, when I was doing that, I felt better. When I was doing that, I had more energy. And so I just compared and contrast. And this is where I think it's kind of good to have a relapse, or like experience both, because I had a point of contrast. I was like, I've lived this lifestyle and I've lived this lifestyle. This one feels better.
Yeah. No, of course.
So then I had like that point of like, all right, well, I can get back to it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I started doing. I started working out, and instead of going out 3-4 times a week, I started going out twice a week, just on weekends, and then I would work out during the week. So I started putting in more of the healthy stuff, before I even stopped drinking. And then after a few months, I was like, man, it was just more evident that this was better for me than this. So it helped because I already had this habit, of working out and stuff, and realizing that this is good for you and it feels better for you in the long term. It's just common sense. But I get where it's hard because it's like, fuck. You have to, it feels like you're starting over, like you have to build the habit.
What's bad feels good.
Yes, yes. What's bad for you initially feels good, but it's bad in the long term, and then the opposite is true. Like what's good for you feels tough, but it's good for you in the long term.
And that's the thing that people just have to find is that balance and duality.
Yes.
Okay, if I can't, I don't have to give everything up cold turkey, but if I can just minimize them and find a rational fucking regimen to balance the two.
Yeah, I think that's a big thinking error that I see a lot most often, and pretty much everyone I talk to is that black or white thinking. Like it has to be either this or that, either or. Everywhere it's like it doesn't have to be either or.
People tend to shy away from the gray area. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of people, there's always a gray area, but people choose to ignore it. Like me, I'm a firm believer in black and white, but realistically, there's going to be gray area points sometimes. And, sometimes you just have to bask in like, I'm fucked over here, I'm fucked over there. Let me creep right here, see what this is about. And you end up doing it. Oh, okay. It's here for a fucking reason. Let me utilize all these resources because, clearly if I choose, this side or this side, it's going to, it's not going to benefit me to the fullest potential.
Yeah.
But if I
think another big thing too is like we tend to undervalue the small habits, like the small things. Like when I barely started, it's like you're obviously not gonna go to the gym 7 days a week, Like you're obviously not gonna wake up and do your morning routine every day. Like starting small and being consistent with the small actions. I think it's often people undervalue the small actions, like journaling, or what, journaling, like journaling your thoughts. 5 minutes of a brain dump. People minimize the impact that it can have on your mental health.
Yeah.
A 15-minute walk. People minimize the impact that can have. If you do something, like, it seems like a small thing, right? Like, journaling for 5 minutes, what the fuck is that gonna do? A 15-minute walk, what the fuck?
You have no idea how beneficial it would be.
When you do it consistently and you realize, like, fuck, like, these things that people say, like, things that are suggested by the mental health professionals and people that are healthy and wealthy, they're often overlooked. Like, they're so cliche. But it isn't until you do it that you realize, like, fuck.
Yep.
It actually is beneficial. Like, they're not just saying it to say it.
Those 5 minutes journaling eventually turn into 20.
Yes.
That 15-minute walk turns into an hour run.
Exactly.
And it just
compounds. It's like a compound interest, but for your health. That's the way I see it. And I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people, too. Where they see, like, oh, man, I'm here. I want to be here. It's so far. I'm just not going to do anything about it. Because it's so far and it's so daunting and it's so overwhelming. And they just hold themselves back from actually doing something, anything,
One thing I think that did fuck me up that still lingers with me from the pandemic is I don't like to be, I'm way more of an introvert than I had ever been in my life. Like, I like to be in my house. I love just the peace, the comfortability, the not having to fucking deal with the outside world.
Same.
And like, don't get me wrong, I would like to do that too, but I would like to go out and do shit too. You know what I mean? And now, one thing I am worried about is, shit, well, how do I deal with this? Because it's not fair to my kids when I just don't want to leave the house.
Like, you went from one extreme to the other, you feel?
Yeah. But the transition was so fucking swift to where I used to, at the drop of a hat, hey dad, can we go here? Let's go over here. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. No questions asked. And now I'm fucking berating excuses or ways to get out of it. Like, oh, dad, can we go to the park today? I don't know, it's kind of hot out there.
Not even the park. Anywhere with people.
No, not necessarily anywhere with people, but like some days my body just not having it. Like, and I'm not trying to use it as an excuse. It's just like, it's just this overwhelmness of fucking just being drained mentally and physically. Like, I don't want to do shit. I want to be a fucking couch potato and just binge watch shit. And it's like, I know that that's unhealthy for me. I know I've never been that kind of person, but
because it wasn't like that before.
Yeah, and I feel that was that is one long-term effect from the pandemic that is still in me sometimes. And I fight it. Don't get me wrong. I try to fight it as much as I can. Be like, you know what? Fuck that. Tough. We're gonna get off our ass and we're gonna go do this and we're gonna go do that. And I've done it though, but it's a lot fucking harder now. Yeah. It's just like a fucking it's like a scar that the pandemic cut me. And even though like it healed up and shit, that scar's still there, and it minimizes my activity because, you know, that cut affected my my mobility in a sense, one way or another. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still trying to fight through that because I see everyone, like, you know what I'm saying, and it's on social media, I see people just out and about nonstop, and I'm like, fuck, man, that used to be me. Why don't I have that fucking ability to just get out my house like I used to? You know?
Do you think it's more mental or physical though? Do you feel
both.
like fatigue, like heavy?
I did. Like, I'm starting to drop weight again because I was fucking top tier fit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't no Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything, but I was fit. You know, my endurance was good. My stamina. You know, I was eating decent, and then I'm healthy, but I'm not healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel it's physically and mentally because the mental part doesn't want to deal with people. The mental part just wants to lash out, and it's impatient when I'm on the road and people don't know how to fucking drive, or people are just easily fucking triggered with that. Mentally and physically, it's like, shit, I gotta get up, I gotta drive over here, I gotta walk around, and then I gotta fucking, and it's like, why though? I was never like that. Why am I like that now?
What the hell is going on?
Yeah. And I don't know where the fuck it came from. Like, the only thing I can attribute it to is the pandemic, because I was inside for so long and I got so comfortable with not having to deal with people and not having to fucking go anywhere, and I had everything was catered to me because of like delivery services, or, you know.
Honestly, that's one thing that I changed. Like, I cannot get out of the habit of ordering pickup. Like, I just hate going into the stores with all the people and all the noise and all.
You see what I'm saying? That's
I relate to that. Like, up to this day, I still order. I'll order it online and I just go pick it up. Like, even groceries.
Even that for me, just to go pick it up is.
See, that's another level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can relate to that. But I think there's more to it. Like, I think because there was a season in my life where, when I stopped, when I kind of started slowing down the drinking after the liver enzyme thing, I got another job. I got 2 jobs because I was like, if I keep myself busy, I won't have time to drink. So I was working 12-hour days, 5-6 days a week, and of course I was tired, you know? Like, I burned myself out, and I did 1.5 years of that. And then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm just burning myself out, like, just to avoid facing whatever I'm facing, you know? And so, yeah, I finally quit one job, but it took me a while to stop feeling tired.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I had no energy to socialize, to not even with my family. Like, it was just like hi and bye, because like I want to be alone. I feel like being alone was how I recharged. Like, I could spend all week alone and be fine with it, and I got so comfortable with being alone. And I saw it as a good thing, because like I said, for a while I couldn't be alone because I was always drinking, and I didn't want to be alone and face my thoughts and hear all my regrets and all of that. So I was just avoiding being alone. So when I got over that hurdle, I went to the other extreme. And I was like, I like being with myself now. Fuck all of y'all.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are fucking ruining my vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was easily aggravated and irritated, and I realized, like, it wasn't actually people, it was me.
Yeah.
But I do think that it goes deeper. Like, when we're, you know that they say, like, whatever aggravates you about somebody else is also in you. Or like
You project your own aggravations and
Yeah.
your own subconscious into someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and it manifests in that way. And I 100% agree with that shit.
So I think there's that might have something to do with it, because like for me, I know that there was a lot about me that I didn't like. There's a lot of things that I have done that I'm ashamed of, and I was carrying that, and I was just like, I hated so much about who I was and how I lived life. And I think that all of that was projected onto other people. That I was just like, I don't want to be around other people, because they would push my buttons. They would trigger me, you know. And it's just like, I'm comfortable alone. I'm happy alone. Like, I don't need anybody else. Like, I have hobbies, you know. Like, I like my own company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at peace. So it was just so much easier to be alone than to have to face all of that and be with other people. But then I realized, like, you need people.
Yeah.
You know, because after a while, it's like, well, what are you alive for if you don't have thriving relationships? You know, like, if you don't have somebody to share the joyful moments with, and somebody to grow with, somebody to share life with, you know?
No, for
So
sure.
then that's when I was like, man, I gotta heal me so that I can be a better daughter, be a better sister, be a better friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if I don't have tolerance for my friends, like, I'm telling you, like, I got to the point where I would get annoyed even just getting texts from my friends. And I'm like, these are my friends.
Dude.
I started feeling guilty about that shit, because I'm like, you like these people.
Yeah.
How are you annoyed with messages from people that you like, that they're reaching out to you, they're checking in on you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is that annoying to you, you know? And I had to check myself, because it's like, you don't want to end up alone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
All that behavior will definitely push people away.
yeah. And when you're going through some shit, it's like, you don't want to be alone. Because when I went through my suicidal season, like, I'm so glad that I had friends that were there for me. Because if not, man, like, if I didn't have my sister, my mom, and a couple of good friends, I would have probably committed suicide when it was, like, the darkest season. And so I always think back to that, and I'm like, we need people, you know?
No, for sure. I agree 100%.
But I also relate to that feeling of, man, life is so much easier when I'm just me, myself, and I. You know? But relationships take work, and I think that's what it is. Is like being in the headspace to be around other energy, and that's another topic too. It's like if your energy is, like, if your aura, how's your aura? How's your energy? You know, like, sometimes we're more open, and sometimes we're more closed off. Sometimes we're more vulnerable to other energies. Like, I recently came across this topic of human design.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about it. It's kind of like combining, like, psychology with, like, spirituality and astrology, and it's like a combination of a lot of ologies.
Everything coinciding with each other.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So it kind of tells you, like, your soul's agenda, pretty much, based on your date of birth and time of birth and place of birth. So it tells you, like, based on that, like, your energy centers, this is how they're positioned, and this is what you came on earth to do, and this is what is helpful for you, and this is what is not. So what I learned from that is, like, according to that study, or that philosophy, right, is, like, my energy centers are very open. So I am very vulnerable to absorbing other people's energy.
Gotcha.
And I think that's why I get drained easily, or, like, I get tired when I'm around a lot of people. So the way around that is, like, okay, if I already know that that's how I am, then how can I prepare around that, you know? Because obviously, like, I'm not gonna neglect my relationships just because my energy centers are open and I get tired, or my energy is drained, right? So instead, it's like, okay, how can I fill my cup? How can I fill my cup so that I make sure that when I spend time with people, I'm not gonna feel that irritable. I'm not gonna feel like I'm tired and, like, I just want to be alone. So then I just proactively fill my cup and get my energy to where it's at a place where I can share, you know?
No, for sure.
So it's like,
I'm with you on that one because I'm the same way. I'm exactly the same way.
clearly from what you're telling me.
Yeah, energy has a big issue to do with it, and it's hard to find someone who brings the same type of energy to the table, because when the energy is mutual, all you can do is thrive off of it.
Yeah, and you can feel it.
Yeah, and when you're drained from the shit, or is draining you consistently, of course, like the irritability,
And I think people take it the wrong way.
as far as
hearing like,
like when you tell someone,
yeah. Like even I'm pretty sure somebody listening to this is probably like, man, fuck you, you know, because like I can tell you right now, like my list of friends, there's some people that when I leave their presence, I'm like, fuck, man, I need a nap. And there's some people that when I leave, I'm like energetic, you know, I'm like, man, let's go crush these goals, like let's go do stuff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one friend I had to just fucking. I feel kind of bad about it, but last weekend I went to go scoop him up, and he came out of his house and he was on some grumpy bullshit. And as soon as he got in my car, he started talking shit. I literally pulled out the driveway.
Really?
And I drove right back in. I was like, get the fuck out of my car.
Really?
Like no explanation. I was just like, get the fuck out. And he didn't say anything. Like he was bothered. He didn't say anything. But I was with my other boy too. And he texts him. He's like, what the fuck is this fool's problem? And he showed me.
I don't have no time for that type of energy.
Yeah, he told me. He's like, hey, look what he's like. I don't even want to entertain what the fuck he's saying, because I clearly, if I didn't have the energy to fucking deal with him physically, Menos over text.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you gotta do that, you know. Like I feel like sometimes you have to be very protective of your energy. Like unless you have capacity to like hold space for your shit and somebody else's shit, then you gotta protect your energy. Cause like it's real, man. Like it will take you down with them.
And like you said, people that get offended by it, they might not necessarily be up to speed on how significant that can be. And of course, back then I would take it offensive.
Yeah, definitely. Like I had a friend, I don't know, a friend like that. Like I've known this person for years, like probably like 15 years I've known her. And it's like a on and off type of friendship, you know. But recently, the past couple years, I just started observing a lot, and I'm like, every time I stop, like every time I get away from hanging out with this person, like I feel tired, and I started observing things, and I'm like, you know, the question that I started asking myself was, would I be okay switching lives with this person? You know, would I be okay becoming more like this person? And then the answer was no to both. And I'm like, then what the fuck am I doing with them?
Yeah.
And it sucks and it's tough because you grow up with this concept of loyalty, right? Where it's like, man, you've known them all your life. Like, what do you mean you're not going to talk to them anymore? What do you think, you're better than them? Or all of that nonsense. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's like you get through so many years of wasting time, and then you realize it's not even personal. It's just me choosing me, and
I choose me.
Yeah, like it's like I'm not even judging you for how you are. It's just we're on different wavelengths, and I'm not gonna expect you to change or ask you to change. I'm just gonna draw boundaries around my energy because I'm gonna protect my energy, you know.
Absolutely.
And then eventually, if hopefully I'm at the point in my life where I can hold space for you, then maybe I can grant you some of my time, you know. But until that happens, and I just think it's like you have to get to that point where you can't care if you lose people, you know? Because if you start caring, you're just not gonna grow to where you want to be.
You definitely have to cater to your own well-being first.
Yeah.
Before you can really help anyone else with their shit.
Exactly. Yes, and sometimes that involves just
cutting people off completely.
Yeah,
or distancing or cutting them off because, if it's detrimental to your energy, you're not gonna have any energy to give anyone else.
Right.
So.
Or yourself when you need it most. You know, that happens to a lot of people, I think, where where they struggle with releasing relationships that are going separate ways. You know. And
the sad part is, it's unknowingly. They're not aware of, you know, the whole process of the shit. It's just, to them, it's just this friendship has failed. So fuck. Oh well.
Yeah, a lot of people don't pay attention to all of that. Like, even just energy talk. Talking about energy, I think, is like taboo. Like, people are looking at you like...
I never thought I would have been one person to indulge in this type of conversation ever. I would always look at, like I would look at it like, you fucking hippies. What do you mean? Like energy and crystals and manifestations and shit.
Hippies.
And I'm over.
And now you're the one talking about it.
I'm preaching it like a motherfucker. Like, if I'm not,
because you lived through it, right? It's
yeah,
like you have that experience.
It's the crazy shit that you have to go through it to understand it.
Yeah.
And even if you don't go through it, understanding is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because
having an open mind about it, right?
And it's really hard to say people don't go through it. Everyone goes through shit. It's just how they interpret it.
I think a lot of people go through shit. Obviously, like, everybody goes through shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people go through shit and they don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just go through it and another day, another year. They never pay attention to...
They see it as from an ignorant standpoint.
Right. Like, it's just life happening to me.
Fuck it. You don't want to talk to me? I don't want to talk to you, bitch.
Yeah. They stay at this level of, like, the surface level, right? Where it's like, fuck them.
Yeah.
They don't stop to analyze themselves. Like, all right, well, why? Why are we drifting apart? Where's the disconnect?
And I feel that's a big thing for our generation as millennials. And these Gen Z fuckers are getting even way deeper than we ever will. Yeah. And the way our parents look at us having this type of talk, we're going to look at them. Yeah. And that's one thing that we're like, fuck, man. Like, I want to understand you.
It is crazy. Like, there's a lot. Like, I think the craziest thing that I've heard that's like new age is like communities within the extraterrestrials. Like, they have names for the communities. And I'm like, that's some other level.
Other labels for the cliques in general.
There's just levels to this newness.
And it's so easily obtainable because of how much we've advanced technologically. Like, in the palm of your hand, you have the power to fucking do anything, literally. You have a whole library in your hand. You have a whole philosopher's archive in your hand. You have a whole fucking news tabloid. You have everything in your cell phone.
I think it's kind of like, again, like a twofold, right? Because on the one hand, you have access to everything, ever. You can learn anything at any rate. And then on the other hand, it's like, there's an overload. And I think that there's a lack of discernment between what's reliable information and what's not.
No, for sure. Yeah.
It's like keeping it simple. You go online and you search for nutrition. There's so many contradicting information sources. It's like, go vegan. No. Eat only meat. No. Count your macros. No, don't count your macros. Cardio before weights. Wait.
Drink more water, but make sure you check the pH balance. Don't drink this type of water.
It's
motherfucker, like, what? I grew up thinking water's water.
Everything is a rabbit hole now.
Yeah.
It's like you can search for one thing, and like for me, I get easily consumed with information. Like if I search for something, I could lose track of time and just be reading shit for hours, and then be like, what the fuck was I even looking for in the first place?
No, same.
Because you just go from one source to another, and then you're like, who's right? Like, there's no government, there's no governing source of, like, how do you know who's right and who's, like, what's helpful, Like, there's no accountability online, I think.
Ultimately,
like, anybody can say anything.
Ultimately, it just boils down to what our bodies and our mind and our spirit tells us.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a big thing. I think that's what I foresee, like, the big thing coming up. That's what it's gonna come down to, like your personal ability to navigate through that information overload and listen to your intuition and listen to your convictions and honor them. I think that's the next big thing. Because before it was like, all right, well, it's ignorance. And then it's like, all right, you solve that. Here's the internet with all the information. Now what?
All the tools you need.
Now what?
Pick out the right tools.
Yeah.
And when you apply them, if they feel good to you, keep them. If they don't, hey man, there's billions of other fucking things to.
I I think that's where it gets overwhelming because it's like fuck. That's where probably people fall off, where where it gets overwhelming and then it's like, man, I don't want to try shit no more. Like, let me just go back to what I knew.
And even then, it's like, fuck, what did I know? Mm-hmm. I've learned so many new fucking things.
That it doesn't even work for you anymore.
I lost a piece of me from back then.
Yeah. You're not the same person that you were when you were back then doing those things.
It's the fucking human brain is so mysterious. Like, it's so powerful, so mysterious. It's just like...
It's like a never-ending journey of figuring out what's next.
And even after you die, you still get, what, another 7 minutes of brain activity to fucking deal with? You can't even die in pieces. Like, shit, 7 more minutes of memories of life? Shit. I just want to...
I thought I was done. Yeah. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Oh, man.
Because if you do, then you just start over again.
You see what I mean?
You don't even die. You don't even die.
I finally get to rest. You close your eyes. Okay, I'm dead. I get to rest. Close your eyes. You wake up. Oh, shit. What is this? A hospital room? Doctor? Fuck.
Again.
If you're lucky to be a human. Shit. Because there's other levels to fucking reincarnation.
Right?
Be a dog. Be a fucking butterfly. Man, who knows?
That's always interested me. Like, I find that very interesting, like the afterlife topics. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember one time I spent hours on fucking YouTube watching stories of near-death experiences. Mm-hmm. That shit is crazy what people will say. Like, obviously, I don't know if it's real or not, but there's so many stories of people that almost died or died and then came back. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them say that, like, reincarnation is a thing.
That's the thing. There's no reliable source for credibility, right. So it's like, fuck.
Yeah, back to the thing.
Maybe all of us have a different fucking afterlife.
Right.
You know, they might have been eligible for reincarnation. We might.
That's true. I never considered that. Maybe it is different for everybody.
It's just, you never know. Yeah, they might have lived a type of life where it's like, okay, you get a second chance, but you get to be something else. Us, like, oh, you're going straight to hell. That's it. Yeah, you check out, hand in your soul. Good for you. You rest for the, ashes to ashes, dust to dust type shit.
I read a book once about, I think it was called Many Lives, Many Masters. It's about this psychiatrist that's performing psychotherapy, like hypnosis, on this patient. Mm-hmm. And she starts talking about her past lives. The patient. Mm-hmm. So the psychiatrist obviously is like freaked out, right? She's like, what the fuck? Because she doesn't, at this point, like, she doesn't believe in reincarnation or anything, Mm-hmm. And after like a few sessions with this patient, her beliefs completely changed. Like,
really?
Because she experienced like everything that the patient would say about her other lifetimes. That it's like, man, there's no way this is not real. Yeah. So she just completely went from not believing in it to believing in it, and then like she had like a whole spiritual rebirth because she's like, man, if this is real, then like everything that I believed up to now is like,
who's to say that this isn't real?
Right. Uh-huh. So her mind just opens and it's like, man, it is a possibility. Like obviously we can't prove it, but we can't deny that it's a possibility, And it just changes everything about the way she thinks about her soul, about her body, like I know for me, like just keeping an open mind and thinking like, man, maybe it is possible, maybe my soul is here with a bigger purpose, maybe I have lived other lifetimes, maybe that's the reason why I feel a certain way about certain things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the way they say we only use a certain percentage of our brains to their potential,
that's mind-blowing too.
Yeah, because who's to say that these people, the everyday average fucking Joe looking people, who's to say that they haven't unlocked different levels of brain activity that enables them to interpret life in a different manner, or interpret energies in a different, or manipulate energies in a different manner. It's like us. I would deem us to be a little more enlightened than other people.
I think I've lived a few lifetimes.
You know how they say,
I'm not high right now. It's
a natural high.
This is tea.
But, like, you know how they say there's identifying marks on people's bodies that indicate like that was the fatal the fatal marks of a past life. I have some on my body, and I don't know, like I can't help but feel like Maybe I died violently in a past life.
Maybe that's why all that the anger outbursts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, like I feel like there's just so much that we don't know. Like there's so much that we don't know that we don't even know that we don't know. You know, that's why I'm always like trying to learn more and keep an open mind, you know, and stuff like that. Like stories of kids. Have you ever seen the stories of kids where they're like, they come with the memories of their past life and they tell their parents like some crazy shit, and the parents are like, "What the fuck? Where did that come from?" That to me is like, that's unexplainable. Like,
how the fuck would you know about this particular era or time?
Exactly. You're a child. You haven't even gone to fucking pre-K.
No, yeah.
That's crazy.
I agree 100%. Kids have this, I don't know, like, I don't want to say veil, but definitely access to another portion of like reality.
Like a different level of consciousness, I think.
Different level of consciousness. They have the mental capacity to cross dimensions, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Or not necessarily cross, but have things from other dimensions communicate with them.
I got this.
So, I don't know. I've seen videos too with kids just
That's trippy.
Trip their parents out because, you know, oh, hey, I see something over here, and their parents are like, what the fuck, what are you talking about? Oh, and they describe whatever they're seeing, and the parents just break down because it's like, there's no fucking possible way you could have known that. Like, you just described your great grandpa or some shit.
That's crazy shit. That leaves me thinking, and it's like, man, like you gotta live with that awareness that you really don't know a lot, you know, and that there's infinite possibilities of what reality actually is, or like even just dimensions that we're not aware of. You know, that we are coexisting with other dimensions, and there's a lot more to this life than what we see.
And that alone, that fact alone is scary, because not only do you have to
me that's exciting.
There's like potential evidence of paranormal aspects, and potential evidence of interdimensional aspects too. And it's just like, fuck, man, that there's possible evidence of a potential afterlife, and then there's possible evidence of potentially communicating through alternate universes.
Oh yeah, that's another level.
That's fucking.
That's another level of rabbit hole.
And it just fucking, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's never fucking ending, but that's the beauty of it, because we can conceptualize and derive theories all fucking day long, but.
And you can go as far as you like, you know, but like, it's like there's a scientist theory that says like the further you go into science, eventually you'll realize, or you'll meet God. Like there's this theory where like the more you study science, like quantum physics and all of that evolved shit, eventually you get to God. So it's like religion and spirituality meet at some point. So it's like there's no point in the combative approaches, where it's like at the end of the day,
one bashing the other.
Yeah, like if you get the most educated theologists and the most educated scientists, they're gonna agree on a lot of shit. So it's like, might as well avoid all the philosophy talk and just live your life, you know?
And I feel it's just ultimately boils down to duality. That's the most fucking primitive.
Helpful. I find that thought very helpful, actually.
Yeah, because that's exactly what it boils down to. Like you said, the most
fundamental.
The most learned theologists, most learned scientists, and then we go to the most fundamental, which is I'm wrestling with.
It meets there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wrestling with like all of these dimensions, but at the same time, I'm still human and I'm still here and I'm still gonna die.
Let me see. My morals tell me help this homeless person out. My logical side is, fuck that. He has a watch. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not homeless like that.
You gotta pay your phone bill tomorrow. Keep that change.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the most. Fuck. You just used the word. I'm having brain farts like crazy. It's the most. I said primitive. You said fundamental aspects of thinking like that, as opposed to. But it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, I wish I would have known that like years ago. because I was always so caught up in like what's real, what's not, you know, what's true, what's not. And I remember something that my therapist told me once. She's like, because I was so tormented, man. I was so tormented by trying to find out, am I living right? Like, should I even listen to what the church is telling me? Like, there's this thing called religious condemnation. Like, it's a real thing. It's trauma caused by the religious doctrines.
Yeah.
Or like religious leaders that are just like shaming you, you know, because of how you're living.
Yeah.
It causes trauma. So it's like I was always so tormented by, are my actions gonna
yeah.
You know?
Am
like,
I condemned from heaven because I decided to
exactly, whatever. Something small, insignificant, but it was just so big in my head. And so she told me this, and she's like, there's no such thing as true or false. There's no such thing as real or fake. Like right here, right now, there's only helpful or not helpful. She's like, is it helping you to wonder about theology? Is it helping you to wonder about philosophy and like try to decipher what's true or not? Like, is it helping you at all? And I was just like, no, I'm fucking depressed. It's just like, then it's unhelpful. That's all you need to know. Is something helpful and unhelpful. That just simplified my life so much.
I like that standpoint.
Because as soon as it clicked, I was like, man, she's right. Like, right now, the life that I'm living right now, it doesn't fucking matter whether something is true or false. It matters whether it's helpful or not helpful, because I'm the one that's having these thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'm the one that's living with the consequences of these thoughts. So then I stopped thinking about true or false, real or fake. I just started thinking, is it helpful or not? And it just simplified life so much after that. It was just like a weight lifted off my shoulders, you know? Like, it doesn't matter.
I like that.
It's so fucking helpful.
I'm gonna implement it here and there. Is this helpful or is it not helpful?
It's so fucking great. And like little breakthroughs like that, I think are so critical to break the habits of the unhelpful patterns, you know? Because we get so caught up. I think it's in our nature that we get so caught up with, this is real, this is not. Mm-hmm. You gotta live by these rules and like whether it be religious or socially acceptable guidelines. I think we get so caught up. Like, keeping it simple is like, you're supposed to get married at a certain age. You're supposed to have kids at a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's like,
conforming to society norms,
like,
societal norms.
Is that helpful? Is it helpful for me to think that I should be doing something by a certain age? It's not.
Just go at your own pace. I agree with you there, because that played a big part into where I'm at today. Because it's like, okay, I have to get a house by this age. I have to, and it's like, that's all bullshit, bro. Like,
now that you have it, right, you realize
I got it. I still don't feel that sense of accomplishment,
fulfillment.
The fulfillment. Like, I did accomplish something, but I don't feel I accomplished to its max potential what I could have accomplished.
That's what I went through when I quit my job last year. Last year I quit. Remember I told you I had 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I had this really good job in a very good company in El Paso that everybody wants to work for, supposedly. And I just got it because it's what I was supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
You go to college, you get a good job with benefits, and then you get into debt, and then you get married, and then you have kids, and then you work off on paying that debt for the next 20 years. So I that's what I was doing. I was like, well, is this what I'm supposed to do? I was fucking miserable. I hated that job with a passion. And when I was working there, I was like, I'm supposed to be happy, and I'm supposed to be proud, and I'm supposed to enjoy this, because this is what you're supposed to do, right? Like, I made it to the company where everybody wants to be, and I'm just like, this is not for me, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
And there's more. So then that's when I started asking myself, all right, what do you really want to do? Like, just regardless of what everybody else tells you that you should want, or regardless of what they tell you that you should be doing, I think that's a big step towards fulfillment, is quieting the voices of what people tell you should want.
Living up to other people's standards and expectations.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Because how did you feel, like, after you got your house? And obviously, like, you were thinking about getting custody of your kids, right? But
I felt the fulfillment and accomplishment because of them and for them. It's like, cool. They live with me. They have a safe place where they can grow up, you know, and there's no more excuses for them. Like I'm not gonna.
You were living up to the standard of your role
Being as a parent, yeah.
Yeah, as a dad. But as a person,
for myself, I'm like, there's more for me than this. Like I'm grateful for this. Don't get me wrong, but like maybe that's why I decided to start this fucking podcast and utilize this extra space for this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's a reason I got this fucking extra space. Let me try to use to help me and help others. And honestly, I love when I do this. Like I've mentioned it countless times. I don't care about profiting from this shit. The profit that I get from it is I get to learn something or I get to help someone.
I was just about to ask you, like, I think one question that really got my wheels turning was somebody asked me once, if money was not an issue and you would succeed, then what would you do? Like, if money was not an issue, then what would you do with the rest of your life? You know, because I think a lot of times we think about money way too much. Mm-hmm. And it's like in the bigger scope of things, like if you look at the richest people, the wealthiest, most successful people, after they've already got their needs met, right? Because there's like that hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. After they have their basic needs met, they all gravitate towards helping others. The wealthiest people in the world, after they get their needs met, are all gravitating towards helping others because that's where fulfillment is in a certain type of way. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was a big eye-opener as well. But when that person asked me that, where it's like, if money wasn't the issue, what would you do? I went blank. Because from the largest part of my life, because my family's history is poverty, right? Like, scarcity and money were a big issue. Like, I couldn't not think about money. All of my decisions, my degree in college was because of thinking about money. The jobs that I took were thinking about money. Like, I never stopped to think, what do I enjoy doing? You know? What am I passionate about? What am I happy? How do I see myself in the next 10 years?
Never asked the real questions.
Yeah, exactly. It was always, who's going to pay me more? What can I move up? Who's going to give me a promotion? And if it was shit I hated. Until I was like, man, what the fuck am I doing? I'm just getting older and...
Working, making someone else money, exactly. And I'm scraping by. I guess.
So I was going to ask you, like, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? But you just said, like, you love doing this. You love talking to people and helping other people.
Yeah, you know, like, thankfully, I'm at a job that I love. Thankfully, I don't wake up thinking like, fuck, I gotta go to work today. Fuck.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
For one, I'm so blessed and grateful to say I love what I do. Two, I love the schedule. I'm on 4 days, I'm off 3 days.
Oh, that's dope.
I fucking love it.
Mm-hmm.
And three, I have no complaints about what I make. Thankfully, what I make sustains me and my family. And we're comfortable. So it's like, what?
You're in a good place.
Yeah. Thank God I'm in a very good place.
That makes sense because going back to what I said right now, your needs are met in the bottom. So now you're like, all right, what about self-actualization, you know? What about fulfillment? So it's like, this is why you launched
everyone's good. How can I take care of myself now? And that's... It can only...
It's a beautiful place to be, man. Honestly.
Yeah, because it can only get better from there. Like, I work on myself, I improve myself, and I get better. It's only going to be better for everyone else. Exactly. And it keeps fucking going.
That's true.
And like I said, I'm really trying to get back into the whole groove of getting back in shape. And not only...
I had a shoulder surgery, like, back in June. Mm-hmm. And getting back to the gym was tough, man.
Can imagine. You healed up good, though?
Yeah, like I barely started back at the gym last month.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it healed good. Like I went to PT for like 2 months. I think it was like 2 months of PT. And it was tough. Just because you get out of that flow, you know, of that. Like when you're in your routine and you already like look forward to it, you know? That feeling of like, oh, I'm used to working out, I look forward to it. Once you stop going for I think longer than a month, you're gonna lose that you're gonna lose that enthusiasm. It's gonna start feeling more like a chore, like fuck. But then once you start going again, it's like, all right, you start looking forward to it. Mm. So that's what you want to do next, is get back into the flow.
Yeah, because like mentally, I've always told myself, during the months of November and December, you fucking pig out. Because that's what you do essentially those months. You got Thanksgiving, you got the holidays in general. Just for eating and family and I'm like,
all the foods.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to minimize that. Like we just talked about it. Balance it. I'm gonna work out so much that I'm in shape and I'm healthy, and to where I can use those days like cheat days and just go to town on fucking pigging out on turkey and mashed potato, all these carbs and shit, and enjoy them and not have to worry about I'm gonna be all sluggish and shit for the next few weeks because I ate so much and my body really doesn't want to do shit. I don't have the energy.
Yeah, it's like you get even more lazier, right?
Yeah, you dig your hole deeper essentially. But like I really changed that mentality because I don't, because I have a big fucking sweet tooth.
Oh, me too. Recently, not before. But.
Like sweet tooth, junk food, just comfort food, all that shit. I love to eat, but it's like once that feeling is sustained, and I'm like, okay, good. I don't need to eat that shit anymore. Okay, I'm on track. Let's be healthy.
Like eating for fuel instead of for emotional regulation.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at too, honestly. Like I think it's once you have like awareness of like one aspect of your life, I think it just flows into everything else because then you're just aware of everything. And I'm like for me, I know that I have to work on my relationship with food. I usually work out more for like mental discipline because I feel like that's like the basics, you know, like working out, eating clean for the most part, and sleeping. That's like basics, which even that for many people is a challenge, you know, like a lot of people don't sleep well. A lot of people don't even manage their stress. They eat junk food every day, chips, soda, sugar, and they don't exercise, or they exercise like on and off. So I think even that is just like basics. Like exercise, nutrition, and sleep is like baseline. But I think it's critical because if you want to do anything at all, like anybody that has ever done anything, you have to take care of yourself at another level. And it starts with like the basics, you know, like you can't think about growing professionally if your fucking basics are shit. You know, like you don't see a successful person that's like, oh man, I stayed up till 4 a.m. last night fucking eating Cheetos and watching Netflix. You know, like it's just not a thing. But it is tough to keep up with because it's so easy to just not do it, you know?
It's funny because you just saying that reminded me of I read in 50 Cent's most recent book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That one got me out of a funk too. Get back to it.
Get it.
But he said in the book, Ferrari. There's a reason Ferrari doesn't have advertised commercials on regular TV because
their customers don't watch TV.
They don't watch TV.
I've heard that before.
And
it gives you thinking, right?
Yeah, like
I got rid of my TV a few months ago.
I need to, because that shit is a major fucking distraction for me.
Because just for a short term, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was, like, analyzing myself, and I'm like, man, I could be going so much harder. And I was already doing well, you know, like, I had already established my routines, and I was being consistent with my mentorship. I hired a guy to be my coach for this project. Mm-hmm. And so he's operating at this level. And so even just my weekly meetings with him, it, like, gave me something to work towards. You know? Because I'm like, this dude is younger than me, and he's doing all of this, operating at this level. The least I could do is, like, show up at my best self, you know?
Yeah.
And I was paying him, so I'm like, I'm paying for this shit.
Get my money's worth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, I gotta get rid of my TV. Because even just, like, that hour a day or, like, that weekend binge, you know, if I just felt like it was setting me back. And, yeah, sure enough, I saw a difference. So now I'm like, all right, maybe I could get it. I'll get a TV again maybe next year. Because I feel like once you're disciplined in the basics, like, you could extend that discipline to other things, you know? So then you could trust yourself. So it's like, all right, you can watch an episode and turn it off when you have shit to do.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, if you're undisciplined, you're going to sit there and binge watch 7 hours.
Yeah, one more episode won't hurt.
And then it turns
Before you know it.
And then before you know it, it's been 3 weeks and you haven't done shit. It's like, it trickles.
Procrastination is like masturbation. You're fucking yourself.
I had not heard of that.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it is. You just, but
But I think it's part of the ebbs and flows of life, right? Like we all go through seasons where it's like sometimes you just gotta rest. Sometimes you just gotta kick back and chill and let everything just kind of sink in. You know?
just find that balance too
Yeah.
between not burning yourself out and getting
Right.
sufficient rest
Yes.
to recharge and still going hard when you need to go hard.
That's I think that's the tough part is finding that balance. But like for me, I'm an extremist. Like, not that I want to, but it's just my tendencies. You know, like I tend to just either do nothing at all or try to do everything at once, and then it's like, oh man, you're burning out. Just tone it down. You know? And then it's like, oh man, you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
It's just a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think I'm getting better at it, but obviously there's always work to do. I think that next year I'm probably gonna have to go back to either coaching or therapy. I don't know. I find that I do my best. Like my best seasons of life have come through working with other people. Like this year, I worked with a mentor that I hired, and then like earlier that I talked about my coach, and then like the therapist. You know, every time that I've had like some sort of significant growth, it's been because I've worked with somebody else. I don't know what it consists of. Like I don't know if it's just like you said earlier, you know, getting around people that are like-minded, that are kind of just like, all right, they're gonna help you stay focused.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think it stays as an idea and you don't take action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you talk about it with somebody, it's like it becomes real, and they hold you accountable to it. It's like, all right, I have to walk my talk.
And accountability is a big thing, and you know, progress.
Like you, I'm pretty sure if you were, I don't know, maybe at a gym where your trainer was waiting for you, you wouldn't slack. You'd be like, man, they're waiting for me. I'm paying him. No.
It depends on the level of narcissism too. It's like I'm paying him; he could wait for me.
Oh my god.
You know, it's like shit. I'm on my own time. It all depends on the person's attitude towards. You know what I'm saying? Because that could be either or. Yeah, I'm paying you, motherfucker. Don't rush me.
You work for me.
Yeah.
I'll be here tomorrow.
And ultimately, they could give a fuck because it's like I'm getting my money regardless.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah, it depends on the partnership. But I do think some partnerships are fucking empowering.
No, I agree 100%. Is finding that partnership that is gonna not only benefit you, but essentially
Like being tuned.
build
right?
you up. Yeah. You're in sync with
Yeah.
the person or whatever's helping you out.
Luckily, well, like the last 3 people, cause I started DBT, which is like another form of CBT, is like dialect behavioral therapy. 2021, and I found that lady online, and then the coach that I had in 19, I found her online as well, and then the mentor that I have now, I found him online as well. So all the last 3 people that I worked with, I've all found online, which I think is interesting, you know, because a lot of people think that like the online space is toxic and it's just negative, but I think it depends on what you're using it for, you know.
Exactly. It's just like anywhere else. You go to a bar that has a reputation for, it's notorious for fights or it's notorious for violence, as opposed to you go to like a fucking a little chill wine joint where it's a quiet ambiance and people are just there minding their own business.
Chill and talk. And
you know, people, it's all about your decisions, your choices ultimately. So
what you do with what you have, or what your intentions are too.
Yeah. Intentions play a big factor in that.
I think it's cool that you started doing this.
Thank you. I'm glad, finally I got back on the ball with this shit because it was like a good 6-7 month hiatus that I was like, it was just here. And you're the first person I've interviewed since, I want to say, maybe like January,
Beginning
February.
of the year.
Yeah.
So what's your goal for going forward? Are you going to try to do like monthly or?
Like what ended on that note? we'll do, because that's exactly what I was gonna end off with you. You beat me to it, but I'm gonna get your response last. But my goal, say it again. My goal for
going forward with this project.
um honestly, my main goal is consistency.
Yeah.
I want to do at least one interview per week, more if possible.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah, not only for, the learning aspect and the helping aspect, but it's pretty cool because I just thought of it not too long. I'm like, damn, this is basically going to be a journal that my kids could utilize. God forbid something happened to me. Mm-hmm. They could look back and see my ideologies and my thoughts, and either incorporate them into their own lives or disregard them completely.
Or just get to know you deeper.
Yeah, because this is a side of me that they can't conceptualize and understand at their age right now. So maybe when they're older, they have this whole fucking archive of, their dad's thoughts and ideas. And pick from it and say, okay, cool. Like, my dad thought this about this subject. He thought that about, and ultimately.
It's like leaving a piece of you behind, like leaving traces.
A little legacy, if you will. Yeah. It's not as big as starting a company
but I think that all of the things that we do online, I think I think that we should see it that way, because it's like, it's going to be there, for generations to come. We are the ones that are building that database of somebody searches for something, that what are they going to find? That's part of the reason why I changed my handle on Instagram and I started creating content about this type of stuff, because I just looked around and I'm like, there's people on here that they're just gossiping, they're just talking shit about other people.
At what age do you grow out of that fucking stage though, man? Like, you're in your 30s, bro. Like, come on, man. We're still gossiping about,
I really think that a lot of people are not meant to grow out of it. I mean, going back to the duality, I think that obviously, like, you need both, right? Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't experience enlightenment if we hadn't experienced sleepfulness, or like unawakened states.
I get what you're saying.
Lower consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are not meant to evolve out of it. But going back to the topic of social media, like, I asked myself, instead of passively disliking what you see, like, why don't you be the change, Why don't you start talking about what you want to see more of?
Putting that onto the universe.
Yeah, like, why don't you take responsibility and start contributing? Instead of being like, it should be this, it should be that, it should be this, it should be that, it could be this, it could... Like, why don't you do it? So then that's when I was like, all right, I just did it. I was like, let me start. This is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I find valuable. This is what I think would help people. And if it helps one person, then I'm good with it. Just like you. It's like, I'm not on here to make money. I'm not on here to be an influencer. I'm not on here to profit off of this platform. I'm
doing it genuinely and sincerely.
I'm doing my part because I feel like trying to help other people is, in a way, like the most selfish thing you could do. Because what you're giving, you're also receiving.
Yeah.
So like they say, teach what you want to learn. Teach what you want to retain. And to me, it's like, if I keep talking about the things that I find valuable, it might help other people, but it's going to help me too. Because I'm focused on what I value. And I'm not getting caught up in what I don't value, which is the gossip and the fearfulness. And like, if you want to find something to be fearful about and be depressed about, just go and turn on the news. There's endless sources.
It'll always be there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So it's like, I think that it's great that more people start talking about things that are empowering and helpful for others. Because the internet space needs it.
And, I mean, it's always going to be outnumbered, but the tools are there for people that want to find it.
Right. It's for for whoever wants it,
And, of course, we're not going to see it at an alarming rate, but as two people who used to indulge in that negative, toxic lifestyle, if we can fucking take it upon ourselves to be like, you know what, I'm tired of this, I want to look for something better, and find it.
Yeah.
And gradually just fucking progress with it. Like, look where we are now.
Yeah.
Anyone could fucking do it.
Exactly. That is always my sentiment behind anything that I say or do. It's like, if I can fucking do it, then somebody else that's going through it, like, they should be able to see and say, if she can fucking do it, then I can too. And that to me is like the light bulb moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it happened for me, when I realized like these people that are doing things and living differently, they're just people.
Yeah.
And if they can do it, I can do it too. Boom. It's like a light bulb. Like you just free your energy, and then you get ideas, and then you start making different choices, and then you start realigning, you know, and it, like you said earlier, it just gets better from there. But yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm excited about changing people's perspective about the internet, you know? Like, it doesn't have to be all gossip and ugly news and bullshit, people judging others, you know? Like, we could use it for so many other good things. Like, think about all the people that don't... This is what I think about when I post content. It's like, there's so many people that can't afford therapy. There's so many people that are living check to check.
Yeah.
There's so many people with a lot of other responsibilities, like aging parents or sick family members or kids that are going through divorce, you know, custody wars, you know. There's so many people that are going through so many other shit that their priority is not mental health. Their priority is not
surviving.
Right. So that they're in survival, and it's like if what we've been through can help them, then why not, right?
Yeah.
Like, why not? You're shortening their evolution curve.
Yeah.
By just having a conversation. I think it's powerful. Having conversations about things that propel you forward is so powerful. It's so underrated. But I think that's why I think it's awesome that you're doing this.
And I've always said, I could give a fuck if it's 2 views, 200 views, 2,000 views. If those fucking 2 views can help at least one person,
right?
I'm good. Like, shit. If I was doing this as a vanity project, then yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, no one's seen my shit. Right. No, I don't give a fuck.
Then
like,
you would be concerned with.
Yeah. But if it helps you, I'm fucking beyond grateful because shit. I'm not keeping score as far as like trying to get up good points for the big guy upstairs type of shit. No, I'm doing it because I know what it's like to be down and out and to be at rock bottom. And I wouldn't have minded someone else, you know, sharing their testimony or their fucking experiences that could help benefit me to be a better person.
And especially, I think, somebody that you can relate to. Because a lot of times I think that these success stories or whatever, like, it's coming from somebody that is so out of touch with you that it's like, man, you live in another fucking state, another continent. You live in a whole other fucking world. And it's, like, unrelatable. But if it's people that's, like, us, it's like, we're normal people, you know? I think it's more relatable and it's more easily to receive, you know? Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I agree.
Let me see. So, on that note, we're going to
wrap it up.
But I wanted to hear what is a main goal for you in the next year? What's a 2-part question. What's your New Year's resolution? And what's a goal you want to obtain for 2024?
I like the first question. The first question in my New Year's resolution. I was actually thinking about this not too long ago. Because I like to think about my New Year goals like before the year ends, so I can get ahead.
Yeah, no, same. I'm the same way.
And I was thinking the other day because I was listening to this podcast about an author of this book that I told you, and so I came up with this. My New Year's resolution is to expand my awareness of God's sovereignty in my life.
Awesome.
So that means for me is like, because obviously, like, God is God, you know? Like, there's no changing that. But I think a lot of the times we get caught up in the day-to-day, and it's like, what do I have to do? What are my responsibilities today? How much more money do I want to make? Mm-hmm. What do I want to buy? You know, where do I want to go? Where do I want to travel to? All the list of things. And this whole time is like, if we just shift our awareness and look at what God is doing, and it's all it takes. That's what I've learned the past few months, years, is all it takes is a shift in awareness, and your experience of life changes. So that's what my New Year's resolution is, to expand my awareness of God's sovereignty. Because for a long time, I feel like I've been trying to do things in my strength, and try to do things intellectually, and try to do things at this dimension, right, the 3D, when, like we said earlier, there's so much more going on in the 4th dimension and the 5th dimension, and I feel like the shortcut to achievement and the shortcut to progress and growth is really just evolving your level of consciousness. So
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna focus more on next year, is just sustaining that evolution, right?
I feel you're definitely on the right track for it, given the way you think and your mentality on things and your openness to, just different ideologies and theories in general. Like, it's good to have an open mind. And
Yeah, probably the biggest practice for getting that is meditation. I think that's where my focus is going to be next year, is meditation. I've heard a lot about it. I've read a lot about it. There's a lot more studies coming up on it now, and my attention is really going towards there. So I'll probably ask me about that next year.
got you. I got you.
And then the other question was
A main goal for 2024.
a main goal for 2024. I want to say publish my book.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's like 90% written. I just need to edit it and publish it. The hardest part, right? I just need to edit it and publish it. But I've been putting it in the back burner, because of this project that I started learning. When I quit my job, I decided I had to like pick up something else to like evolve my skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I hired the mentor to teach me some things about the financial markets and stuff. And I've been focusing pretty much all year. I've been focusing on that. Like, I work my day job 11 to like 8, more or less, and in the mornings that's when I study with this community, right? And I've been doing that all year. So the book has been in the back burner, but I think I really want to focus on that next year, because I think that it could help a lot of people. It's just a matter of me prioritizing that, finding the right team for editing and publishing, because nowadays it's like I spoke with a publishing house maybe like a month ago, and everybody has a different way of doing things nowadays. It's like you can self-publish, but then there's a lot of cons, or you could go the traditional route, but there's also a lot of hurdles. So it's a whole other world that I know nothing about. So I'm like, how do I even approach it? It's difficult, but I really wanna. Not that I need to, but I really wanna just do it. It's like, I already wrote it. Why is it sitting there?
That's super fucking ambitious.
You know what I mean?
I've never heard of anyone take that approach. Like, I want a book that I personally wrote published. Like, you hear, I wanna be a rapper. I wanna be
I want to do that
influencer.
Just kidding.
Like
rapping is a side hustle.
Like a published author. That's I'm sure you'll get it. I'm sure you'll get it done. Like, I'm rooting for you 100%. And when you do make it, like, yeah, I got an author from El Paso right here.
The first podcast I ever did. Hey.
Hell yeah.
Cheers to that.
And I'm gonna get a signed copy when you do publish it. So
for sure. What about you? What are your New Year's goals?
I haven't given it much thought, other than
the consistent
with the podcast and health wise.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But besides that, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, financially, I have no complaints, and I don't want to take a greedy approach where it's like, I want more money type shit. It's like, I'm good for now. Like, when I get that urge to, kick it up a little bit.
Yeah, you'll know when it's time to do the next thing financial. So then maybe your New Year's resolution is not financial or physical. Because I think the physical one is like baseline. Like you're gonna do that regardless. Mm-hmm. But I do think you're gonna find yourself feeling like, all right, what's next?
And when I get there, I'll have to come up with something, because I feel I'll be in a better headspace given my better health.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, you might be more inspired to think more creatively. Like,
for sure. And once when you hit the ground running and you're already in motion, that shit. What do you call it?
Momentum.
The momentum is just gonna. You'll be able to take off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever path you choose, you're already running. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Cool. That's exciting.
Thanks for helping me with all my brain farts today. Cause fuck, I was shit.
I thought you were gonna be the one helping me.
Hey,
I came prepared.
we were all about help today. Sara, thank you so
what's
much for jumping on here, my friend.
Pleasure.
I hope you guys took something out of everything we talked about. You know, because this was a big episode, and you guys
That was
requested
a long
it.
episode too.
Yeah, you guys requested a mental health episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
I got so much feedback on a mental health segment I did with another friend of mine, and they were like, "Yeah, you need to talk more about this." And we got 2.5 hours of it for you guys. So hope you guys can take something from it, and it'll help you.
Let us know if you did.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We can link up.
Definitely.
Talk more about it.
And with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, great week, great year. But we're gonna wrap things up. Again, thank you, Sara.
Thank you.
Peace out, everybody. We out.